Ooh, excuse me. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. I am your humble host, and I greet you with the love and honor of the infinite creator. I'm your humble host, David Null, also known as Hawkeye Two Feathers. And I'm doing this little update here. Haven't done one in a while. The Earth Wobble issue and the subsequent videos that I've done about did ET fix the moon and certain things like that. So this is an update with information that I have and as many observations as I could get because down here in the southeast we've been hammered by a lot of cloud cover. And the one day that it was clear, we got hammered with um, stratospheric aerosol injection, otherwise known as chemtrails to us, conspiracy folk. And so it's been very difficult to try to make any type of celestial observations, which has been my big thing. In that, I take a look at where the moon is, where it comes up, how it sets in the morning, and those have been my physical observations from down here in South Georgia. Now, because it's been so cloudy, it's been very difficult to make any observations that I could make over more than 2 days. Now, so this is 2 weeks since I could make a very good observation, more or less. My last video, all right. And through the clouds and through the things, and I've always note that I look for Orion, because it's the constellation Orion, because it's very prominent in the sky this time of year. Also Pleiades and other celestial objects, like, where is Mars in relationship in the sky? Where is the moon when I can observe it? And we just went through a new moon. So it's been very difficult for me to find the moon early in the morning because of my location and because of all the spraying and the clouds and so forth. Anyway, but 2 days ago, for the last 2 days, I've been able to monitor where the moon is setting. And it's been setting out this window over here, which is to my southwest. So from during the full moon, when it was directly overhead, and I was reporting that I was very proud that it seemed like the moon was back to where it was supposed to be, and that it had been consistent. Well, since that last report, it's been anything but consistent. And so my observations through the clouds and so forth, and now these early on observations after the new moon, it's like something is obviously wrong again, or something didn't get fixed. Something's up. So in a 2 week period from the time from full moon to now, the moon has moved from straight overhead, which would be 90 degrees, to now it's about maybe 40, 45 degrees, maybe it, and that's stretching it. So we're talking about a 45-degree change from where the moon was during full moon 2 weeks ago to where it is currently now, setting in the southwest. It's not overhead any longer. So that suggests to me that the earth is either back into wobbling, something else is going on, or whatever is disturbing the planet and the electromagnetical gravitational bond between the earth and the moon has been disarrayed. It's out of whack, because obviously from my observations 2 nights ago, last night, and it's been cloudy all day today, so I have not been able to make the observation of the moon. I was hoping I would get a third day, but I'm doing this report because it's supposed to be cloudy for another couple days. And anyway, I wanted to bring it up to let everybody know that, also that I'm still here. As far as the meditation and angel messages and so forth that come my way, it's been very quiet. It's been very quiet in that I've been told to center, to hold on to the core value. And I need to do another short video, possibly about this. But since I have your attention, if you've tuned in, to that, it's a time when people need to come inside. And I don't mean withdraw, but I mean, they're telling me that we need to pull our energies and make sure that each one of us is strong in our own self, and that this is very important right now. Very, very, very important that we stay strong. I continue to talk about this, and I hate to be, repetitive, but keeping our core values, our core strengths, our core love, compassion, and especially honor and loyalty. Those two items seem to be the really heavy duty things right now. In fact, I'm kind of getting a message at the moment saying I need to have another discussion about honor among people, honor among just honor, self honor, and so forth. Because right now, people are not honoring themselves or each other. It's really kind of sad. Now, but to the contrary on that, there are people who are waking up. So I don't wish to just make this a contrary type of discussion. There are a lot of people who have woken up and who are realizing there's something much bigger going on, and that we're being affected by the Schumann resonance. And by the way, it's up right now as I make this video at 2:15 a.m. on Friday morning, December the 14th, maybe 13th. I'm hang on. Let me check the day real quick. It's the 14th. Holy cow. Time has gone by quickly here in December for me. We're into 12 days of Christmas, by the way, just as a fourth afterthought, something. But the storms, I think everybody in the United States is under some type of, hard weather. When I looked at the weather just before I started this video, I was noticing, oh my goodness, there's some strange stuff going on. The size of the storms that are in the United States right now, there's a low in the middle of Texas, roughly. And the comma shape and all of the moisture and stuff that's being brought out, literally out of the Pacific Ocean into the Gulf of, across Mexico, into the Gulf of Mexico, and then right up through us. It's astounding. And I've not seen these types of weather events in my 66 years of life that are as extreme as what's going on right now. Now, that doesn't mean that we haven't had bad weather. We have. I mean, I remember back in the 70s when there was snow on the ground for days here in South Georgia. We literally had blizzard conditions. A lot of us like to froze to death because we just weren't ready for that type of a winter. And I remember I was staying in a log cabin, and we were heating mostly with firewood. And I ran out of firewood trying to keep us warm, and there was snow on the ground for almost 10 days after we got the initial blizzard that came through. And this is in South Georgia, In fact, I was actually a little further south than where I am right now. But anyway, all of South Georgia got whacked that year. I remember the year I got out of jail, and there was snow on the ground in Norman Park, Georgia, for several days. And again, I was heating with wood and like to froze to death that year. It was horrible. And so it's like, we've had bad weather before. This is not something new. It's not something necessarily regular, but I'm viewing this from a satellite point of view and what our radar images and stuff over the years. And I've not seen storms that take up the entire United States the way these storms have been lately. This last few months ago, we had Hurricane Michael come through South Georgia. There is still crap loaded debris on the ground here in South Georgia. There are still trees. About a week ago, they redid my power lines at the top of my driveway. I lost power for the entire day. And because they were replacing some of the poles to make them higher, to keep the lines higher from any type of limbs or anything that might be tossed around in the upcoming storms that we might have. The telephone pole was perfectly fine, but the one they put in was another 15 foot taller. I mean, really, it was that much taller. I was surprised. But the thing is that they noticed that there were places and have been trouble places. And we've lost electricity down here in my area many times, but it's usually because the pine trees falling across them. I mean, and they keep the pine trees cleared along the right of way. They do a really good job of that down here in South Georgia. And the fact that we had as much damage as we did, there were just huge trees that fell, and it was the tops of the trees that took the lines down. There's just no way they could have planned for that. And but they are trying to correct measures as we speak from the storm. So these folks they're working hard to try to prevent any future disasters from tearing us apart. So I'm very pleased about that. But anyway, but to the point though, some of these storms and things that as long as I've been here in South Georgia, which is over 40 years, about 45 years I've been here in South Georgia, I've not seen anything like some of the stuff that's going on now. The types of storms. I mean, we've had cloudy weather now for almost 2 weeks. It got clear for a day and a half. Not counting the chemtrails. And I'm pleased to say that there's water in my backyard again. It's turned back into a swamp, and I'm really proud of that. But it's the idea that it's been cloudy every single day that I bring up to you. And it's that the temperatures just have to be just right for the cloud cover to come in and stay here. Well, for another year, I can't remember which one it is. We're going through a meteor shower right now. Well, ain't going to be able to see it from here. We're socked in down here in the south with all these clouds and a considerable amount of rain this afternoon, just here in the last couple hours. It's raining right now. So it's like, here we go again. Now, we've got enough water. My well is well past full. The river is running, but slow, but that's because there's so many trees that have fallen into the river. It's blocking the river from having a normal flow. So that's very interesting in itself. Where was I headed with that? Oh, the fact that the moon has moved so drastically in the sky since full moon is just downright surprising to me, because I observed the moon for 2 weeks prior to going into the full moon, and did ET fix the moon and so forth. And now I'm wondering, I don't know what's happened. I don't know how come the moon normally, 5, 10, 15, 20 degrees, but I'm talking about the moon's down at 45 degrees. 45 degrees drop since the full moon in 2 weeks' time. 45 degrees. That's a lot, folks. So whatever is going on, whether the earth is because of the freezing and the ice and the weather that's upon us, and the jet streams still aren't back to normal. So one of the things, the messages I got several weeks ago was that it was going to take a while for the jet streams to get back to any type of normality. Well, if you look at the weather in the United States right now, it's anything but normal. And if anything, it's way above normal. It's abnormal. That's a joke, son. That's a joke. Abnormal. That relates to Young Frankenstein, the movie by Mel Brooks. But anyway, the weather patterns right now could very well be because the moon's back into wobbling, which is going to contribute with the Earth. I was really hoping that the moon was going to stay stable, and so was the Earth. But to have seen the moon 2 days ago and last night again, and having it set out that window, which is just wrong from my point of view, because that's to the southwest, and the moon is supposed to set out this window over here, which is due almost, well, not quite due west, but close enough. Um, but so the update on all of this is like, what the hell is going on? Obviously, the moon's back to some extreme movements right now, which is going to make the Earth wobble continue. So it's going to be even more difficult for these air currents to get back to any kind of being normal again, if normal is even possible at this point. So my conjecture with this is we still got a long way to go. And if the Gulf Stream and the currents in the oceans were to have any kind of chance of getting back to normal, the fact that the moon is off by 45 degrees, minimal, and I'm hedging on that. I want to say it's even lower than that from 90 degrees, but I'm not trying to scare anybody. But I was very shocked at how far south the moon was in 2 weeks' time. But it's moved more than 45 degrees. Let's leave it at that. And I always say you should monitor these things yourself. You can use a simple plastic. This is my device, and I've got it marked off. I've shown this before, but when I know that straight up is 90 degrees on this thing, and I look out the window and I do a little bit of sighting with my string, and then I pull it across to where the degrees are marked on this, the moon has moved almost 60 degrees. So I'm hedging my bet and saying 45. But this simple little device, which I've used for many years now, and is accurate as far as being able to eyeball something from your own observation. So these things cost $1, a piece of string you got laying around the house. And you can do your own observations, and I encourage you to do that. And you can do this with celestial objects. Pick a star, pick something that you can see come up, and then use this simple device. And you say, well, Hawkeye, what's the string for? The string is so that you can extend your vision. So you hold the string up, you get this relatively level to your eye, and you just eyeball whatever it is that you're looking for. So the string is sort of like a line of sight. So you line it up with the moon and you say, okay, there it is. I look at this and it's about level, and okay, and then you hold the string against the thing, and that gives you your reading. So the string is valuable in line of sight, but also in marking where it shows up on this. And the reason I'm bringing this up to you is that because by using this device the last 2 days, I've noticed that the moon is way too far south. So do your own observations, as I always say you should do, because it's you and me that's keeping an eye on some of these things. Other folks aren't talking about it. Now we're getting some other energy waves coming in at the moment as we speak, as this video is going on. Simply because I checked the Schumann resonance and it's not whacked out, but it's really pumping some energy back into the planet right now. So just be aware of that if you watch this video in the timely manner that it will affect you. How long is this going to last in the Schumann? I'm not sure, but it's pushing high, and there's a frequency that keeps showing up that I just want to bring up to you about this in this update here about the Schumann. Around the 22, 24, 26 frequency, where we're supposed to be at 7.8, there is a lot of energy coming in at that. Let's see, 8, 8. It would be 3 times the frequency. So 8, 16, what is it, 24, 3 times? Yeah, 24. Yep. Okay. I was having a Pink Angel. Hi, how are you? Good morning to you and blessings. Um, but somewhere along the 20, 22, 24, which would be triple of what we are now. The Schumann resonance has been pumping out a steady stream. Even when the rest of the Schumann is down, it seems like it's almost like a new heartbeat. And I find that just extremely odd in that there's also around the 16 megahertz or whatever the hertz is for the planet. And it's been consistent as I've been watching it. Oh, I don't know, at least a year or more now, the Schumann resonance, at least a year I've been reporting on this. So from my observation, yep, it's supposed to be that, Pink Angel. And what I'm saying is that when I checked it an hour ago before I started this video, it was pumping out at about 24. There's a line all the way across the Schumann, and it's spiking in other frequencies too. My point is that as the frequency doubles and then triples, so at 16, there's a faint line a lot of times, and then it gets really heavy. Then if you look at the chart and go down at about 24-ish, there's a line that goes across. And, there's a lot of dark space in between, plus the lines going up and down on the Schumann chart itself. And so it's like, it's just a curiosity I'm bringing up, because it would be 3 times 8, which is where this new frequency is coming in, that it seems like we're getting bombarded with. Now, I don't have a clue what that means. It's an observation. And so my updates, I try to say, okay, here's an observation, not sure what it means. But people who are feeling like their feet are getting dancy and their insides are getting shook up, like me sometimes, I'm just like, I don't know. I feel wiggly and can't really, figure out where this energy or whatever is coming from. And then I realize, especially when I look at the Schumann resonance, and I go, whoa, we're all getting dancy feet, this energy that's coming in at us. And the different frequencies in themselves are affecting each one of us differently, because we're all wired differently. So, but with that said, as I keep an eye on the frequencies, it's just really interesting that these frequencies are coming in at a double, triple what's supposed to be our current. And I'm rounding it up to 8 versus the 7.83, etc. In that it's just easier to do the math. That's all. Yep, Pink Angel. She says that she just looked, and you see what I mean. Yep, this afternoon through tonight was bad, right, or good. It might be bad for those folks who are who aren't used to the Schumann resonance, but to the point though. And Pink Angel and other folks too. Keep an eye on that, because I've mentioned this, I don't know, 6-8 months ago when I was on with Brian on Milky Way Weekly. And I was like, look at this, we've got 16, now 24. And if you look down there around the 32 mark, it's almost like there's 8 plus or 8. It's not doubling it's tripling what 8 is, not it goes to 16 and then doubles again. It's not working like that. It's like we're getting an 8 frequency level differences. So 8, 24. Well, there is a line at the 16 as well, at 24 and then again at 32. And so just add 8 onto each one of them, and you'll notice that there's a line around that frequency. Now it fluctuates up and down in there. It's not like a perfect, and I'm just rounding this off, but it's in the value of 8 is my point in this. So 2 times 8, 3 times 8, 4 times 8, that's what's coming in and showing up in the frequencies. Not a clue what this means, by the way. It's just an observation. Now, it seems though that where it's at now, that where it's hitting 24, my curiosity is that we know that different frequencies affect us all. Now, and we've been warned that this stuff was going to change our DNA. Is this like a constant little tone that's now being presented to Mother Earth in this higher vibrational frequency? Is this 24 part of it? Because if you look at this, it's 16 and then 24. 24 is a little stronger at the moment. And so I'm just curious, are we getting hammered by these energies? And it seems like they're coming in at these, frequency levels. What does this mean to us internally? And is this being controlled in any way? I find it very odd that there's this 8 multiplier in there when 8 is that figure of, infinity, et cetera, et cetera. It's like, why 8? I don't know, but it's a curiousness in the observation in itself. So all I can do is do the observation and say, but there is a curiosity factor in that. I'm curious as to how we're all going to react to this, undertone of vibration that seems to be consistent right now. So what does this multiplier mean? What does this 24 frequency mean versus 16 or the 8? You know what I'm saying? So is that awakening more of our DNA? Is it putting some of us to sleep? I know I've been having knockout spells, and it's like I've got no physical abnormalities per se. I've had a really bad neck ache and a headache that I'm just like, they're not very common with me anymore. And so it's like, but that was during the lull. So it's almost like I feel better during when the Schumann resonance is out of whack and off the charts than I do when it's back to normal. It's like that puts me to sleep. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. But these extra frequencies I know are definitely having an effect on me. And when those frequencies are withdrawn from me personally, it's like, whoa, and I just conk out. It's just like, whoop, there you go. And I've noticed this with my own sleep pattern. And I've had issues with sleep for a long time, but here recently, there seems to be a correlation to the higher frequency levels and then the withdrawal of those frequencies. So it's almost like my body's going, what? You agitated me, you got me all hyper and everything, and I'm awake for 24 hours, and then all of a sudden it's like, whoop, frequency change. Now you're going to sleep for 2 days. What? Please, can I have a middle, do I have an option here? Well, I realize that in my own personal life and who I am and whatever my being a warrior for the Creator is that is my spirit being taken off planet? Am I being used in the spiritual warfare? And my own self, I gotta say that there are things that are going on in my dreams that like I just would never have imagined. Now, can I prove that I'm going, into the mix in the dream world, in that realm? I've walked in that realm. And it seems to be that I continue to walk in that realm because when I'm knocked out, this is not sleep. This is something totally different from sleep because, the TV could blare, the phone could ring. I don't hear anything. A train could come through my house. Ain't waking up. And then there are the times when it's like, okay, now I can't shut it off. It's like there's so much energy in me that now I'm awake for 24 hours. So it's like, I don't know what this fluctuation for myself means. And my diet hasn't changed. Uh, I've fluctuated slightly in my own little world, but not anything that should be causing this kind of contention, if you will. But I've also known that I've been told to shut up because there's so much stuff going out around right now that people are trying to find their own feet. That I put enough information out there right now if people want to look. Now, I'm being told that I need to revisit a couple of things like honor. I need to have a separate video about honor because people are somehow misinterpreting a lot of this stuff. And that, well, what does honor mean? And another video I need to do is like how to meet ET. BRB, okie dokie. Or I'm so tired I can't keep my eyes open at sleep for 5 minutes and suddenly I'm wide awake again. So Pink Angel, I've been sleeping so hard I don't hear the phone. That's not at all normal for me. And yep. Okay. So a lot of us then, Pink Angel and other folks that I've noticed in other chat rooms and things, we're all being affected by these energy waves. And whether we're being knocked out to go into the spirit world and fight these entities, can I prove it? No, but in my own self I can tell you there's something else going on here. This is very different from any kind of dream states that I've ever encountered or experienced in my 66 years of walking on this path. And I need to do a separate video, but while I'm here at this moment, I will tell you that I did a video about these animal cards that I got for Native American primarily. A couple of days after I did that video and I did that card reading, I decided to I wrote down the cards and everything in the book. There's a place in the back for notes. And so I wrote down the order of the cards and what the cards were. Just the number, and like eagle was number 1, and then number 3 was hawk, and so I just wrote that down in the book in the order that I pulled the cards. And then I took the cards and I shuffled them. And I shuffled them, I thought, very well. There were 9 cards that I pulled in a deck of 43, I think. And so I put them back in the deck and I shuffle and and put them in and like this, and I'm blah, da, 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 da. And then I say, okay. And I do my normal thing, which is I fan the cards out. Now I'm supposed to spread them out on the table. I don't have a table big enough at the moment at my disposal here. I got to clean off this little table right over there to do this. But I was like, okay, I know how to do this. I know how to feel for the cards. So I would spread them out and go, okay, well, I want this card. So I would just lay it down and I'd fumble through and okay. And I'd feel a card. I'd pull that card out, go through. Oh, I feel this one. And well, I don't know. Is it this one or the one next to it? Okay, let me pull this one. And I did. Out of the 9 cards that I first pulled, I pulled 6 of those 9 cards back out. After shuffling the deck, several days of not handling the cards, I pulled 6 of those 9 back out. From a number standpoint, now, not in the same order, a couple of them were. But the fact that I pulled 9 of those same cards, 6 of those 9 cards after shuffling out of 43, that I was to pull 6 back out in a different order, but they all mean the same thing as far as what they mean to me. Whale came up again, which was like, holy mackerel. Um, Lynx was gone, or wait a minute, no, Fox was brought in instead of something else. But to the point though, and I'm going to do a separate video about what I found with these new cards. But the idea is that whatever the message is, it's very strong. And I apparently, for whatever reason, there's no way I should have picked the 6 out of the 9 again. 2 or 3 of them, maybe. I'm not sure what the probability of me pulling 6 of 9 out of a deck of 43 after shuffling them again. And one card turned up upside down. And I didn't shuffle them upside down. I just put them all together. So how the cards got upside down was another trick. Because I was like, Quartz, how are you? Good to see you. So when I looked at these cards and I said, how did that card get upside down when I thought they were all facing up? Simply for the purposes of, I just wanted to see what 9 cards I would draw at my second usage of these cards. To get 6 of those first 9 again. Now, again, not in the same order, but the fact that I drew 6 of them out of 43 was like, to me, oh, holy crap. And so the messages in there were, specifically for me, not that I won't share, but it was that, some things need to be just quiet for a little while. The reason that I had to become a hermit was because there are lessons to be learned in the quietness, and you can't get it any other way. I mean, I've talked about this before with other people over the years, and it's like, I'm sorry, but there is something in the solitude of wherever you go and however you may proceed to do it, whether you go off into the swamp, which is in my backyard, or and I used to go to the mountains, and that all got whacked out. But if you can go to any place where you can be quiet and quiet for a long period of time. I don't mean for me it's been years, but in that I had to learn, and the cards taught me this. It showed up in my second reading, in that part of what I needed to learn was that even though I am by myself, I am never alone in the spirit world. Never, ever alone. And I've been trying to convey this to other people, that simply because you're alone doesn't mean you're by yourself. Or if you're by yourself, it doesn't mean that you're alone. Maybe I should rephrase that. But, to the point though, it's like, okay, other folk are thinking about you. Other folk pray for you. Other folk, you pass through their train of thought, or however this goes, their consciousness, and that in itself is a living thing. And so, what has been brought down to me as an update for everybody is that whatever these new frequencies are that are hammering us on a regular basis, Quartz, to bring you a little up to date, I was talking about the Schumann resonance earlier on. And it seems to be there's a multiplier of 8. We've 7.83. I'm rounding it up to 8. 8. Then if you look at the Schumann, there's a line across at 16. If you look at 3 times 8, 24. There's a heavy duty line right now going across the Schumann. And so it's just interesting. And I brought this up before. No idea what it means, but there's this 8 multiplier. 3 times 8, 4 times 8, 32. Okay, there's a line at the 32 mark, and so at every one of those 8 intervals, there seems to be a heavy duty spike all the way across the Schumann chart, not just up and down this way, but a straight new hum in there. And so to me, it's showing that planet Earth is definitely changing its tune, if you will. Pink Angel's back. Hi there. So Mother Earth is definitely changing her tune, and what its effect on each one of us, I have no idea, other than it's definitely making a difference in people. So I've been told to be quiet for a little while here. Thus, this is my first video in maybe a week or so. In that, I was told you just need to listen. You just need to be quiet, let things go. Just, lots of stuff going on, and I was asked by Spirit to just don't say nothing. Things need to unfold for people to like see it, and things are unfolding slow. Now there have been a lot of folks like, ooh, all these indictments and stuff, and I made my prediction. I said, they're going to work up to some things, and there's going to be a lot of shenanigans going on. But I don't think that the big things are going to happen until after the first of the year. And my reason for that is they don't want to upset the apple cart too much during the Christmas holidays. So it's sort of my little visionary thingy of what I'm getting from the cosmos is that I was right 2 months ago right after the elections was that how soon is this stuff going to come out? And I've had conversations with different people on this, and I said I think they're going to do some setup, but they're going to wait till after the first for the big hammer to come down, and they've got till the 20th before everybody's uh, um, inaugurated, before they take their oath of office, to make stuff happen. And so they would upset the American people if they started doing all these things before the holidays, as in arresting folks. Now, they're setting this up. Whoa, Clinton Foundation. Whoops, Q's in the news more. Whoops, this is happening. We had Bush Sr., strange that they picked the time and the date and all the things around Bush Sr.'s passing. Really? Okay. If you don't think that was a setup and etc. But the thing is that because some of those things happened, um, it was sort of a warning to the white hats, if you will. Look, we can make your life miserable simply by people dying and having this and taken away from what they want to do. But I think this was kind of sort of planned in the long run, in that Bush Sr. was given the ultimatum, and I, I think his clone ran out. If you want to know the simple truth on my point of view, now it's been said that his consciousness was sent to the center of the universe, to our galaxy, to the central sun, and remixed, kind of shredded up, and just bye bye. You need to come out on the other side as something different than what you are. I can't confirm that, but there's a lot of rattle in the upstairs business in that's what happened to they finally got him. So I will stick with my original prognosis in that they're going to stir a lot of stuff up before Christmas time, but nothing major is going to happen until after the 2nd of January. Now, the ET news is that a lot of stuff's going to happen starting January 2nd. Well, after the holidays, and that things are really going to kick into high gear. Now, why would they say that? Well, in that I think everybody's like, let's stir the pot up. Let's get everybody's attention, but it's the holidays. We got 12 days before Christmas, roughly. And it's like, let's stir the pot up. We'll kind of get everybody like, ooh, they're doing an investigation with Hillary. Ooh, there's something, something, something. Ooh, there's that over there. Ooh. And mainstream media is doing this. Now, the ET say that there's supposed to be the new Trump television, which is supposed to start after the first of the year sometime. Don't know when. But it's going to be like a CNN 24/7, but with the truth. Sort of like Patriot soapbox kind of thing. And the fact that, they're always presenting information and, Q drops, etc. But not only that, but, things in the news, the truth, where's that $21 trillion that nobody can still find from our military budgets for the last 30 years or 20 years or 10 years? Donald Rumsfeld, the deal with the 2.5 trillion, that was in 2001. Every year we have a deficit that they can't find out where the money went. I want to know where it came from. Who's sending money where to what? And I have to sit here on $1,000 a month on Social Security when I'm supposed to be getting $1,500 a month. They're cheating me $500 a month to keep some deep, dark, secret space program going. I mean, come on here. But to the point, too many people are hearing the same thing. Wait a minute. Well, yeah. Well, Rumsfeld did say it in public, and other people have said it in public. And a lot of people are going, wait a minute. They keep bringing these trillions of dollars up that are missing. And people are starting to really pay attention, like, well, wait a minute. Jason Chavez, the representative from wherever he was from, I can't remember at the moment, but he was on the, Ways and Means or whatever, the military oversight or something like that. He's been hammering these folks since, for the last 10 years. Where's the proof? Where are these things? And people are finally starting to wake up going, wait a minute. Where is this money? It's enough, that, President wants $750 billion spending this year. Why? Well, but he's talking about a space program to the public. He wants to bring this into everybody can see it kind of thing, into full daylight. And there's a lot of opposition, as we all well know. So I would say that don't expect anything before Christmas. But as far as the reset, we've got the new president in Mexico now, who will probably cooperate more with Trump and everybody. They've had the G20 summit. Trump said his thing, did his thing, walked out, and etc. And because he's proven to the rest of us who are paying attention that he ain't going to put up with these shenanigans. And I say, thank you, whoever is above us, that, there are those, contrarians to say, well, Trump's got his own personal goal or vendetta or whatever. It's better than what our previous administrations have been doing. It's better than what, HRC would have done. Oh my God, we'd be in war right now. And people don't understand, this thing about Crimea and what the Russians are going on. There are people that are trying to start a war with Russia and blame it on us. Crimea is Russia. We over here don't understand this kind of thing. The Ukraine is part of Russia. It always was, and when Mother Russia got broke at the USSR, back in the day, I mean, I remember, when Gorbachev, perestroika and all that kind of stuff. And so it was like the United States was broken back up into its original states, like Georgia, South Carolina, Mississippi, Tennessee. I'm only speaking of the southern states, but to the point, though, in that it's like, well, Texas. And some might say, well, yeah, but Texas is on the border of Mexico. Well, okay, but Texas is really part of Mexico. Well, that depends on how far back in history you want to go. So the Ukraine and the Crimea and some of this stuff is like Texas is to the United States. Well, if the United States dissolved, Texas would still be Texas. Well, if they wanted to join another confederation, people would say, wait a minute, hang on, 200 years ago, Texas was part of Mexico. You get where I'm coming with this? So the people here in the United States look at what's going on in Russia and over there, and they don't know the history. They really don't. So there are cultural things and stuff going on in the Crimea and the Ukraine and things like that. And it's like they know what they're doing over there. But there are folks who are trying to push war with them folk. And the folks over here are like, oh yeah, they're gonna start a war. And hang on, they're trying to keep the peace. These little gunboats that went through and got shot up a week or so ago, I know I have relatives and so forth that were in the Navy. You've seen some of these things, and these little fast boats, they call them. These little fast boats can get in under the radar and can blow up a battleship with one of their torpedoes, one of these special or one of these surface to air missile things, you know. And it only takes one of these little fast boats hauling butt across the water to get in under your radar and do some serious damage. Oh, well, these guys didn't know what they were. Oh, yes, they did. They didn't have permission to enter the harbor. So there are a lot of things that if you listen to the mainstream media, they're going, oh, big bad Russia. Nah, 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 nah. We had similar incidents with our own Navy because my brother was in the Navy at the time when an incident like this happened. So no, please back off of this. Putin does know what he's doing, and he's trying his damnedest to not start a war. But he has to show the rest of the world that they're not pussyfooting around. They do have technology that can rival us in a lot of ways. He has to show it off to the world because those of us who understand what's going on, if Putin wanted to, he could use a lot of these other, quote, secret weapons that hasn't been really secret. They've been talking about lasers and sound things and, you know, the rod of death and all these other kind of things having nothing to do with nuclear weapons that could destroy people, you know, very quietly and, you know, singularly. What does all this mean? They have to show the world as part of this disclosure with everything that, hey guys, hey folks, we've got some stuff over here, which means y'all Americans, Putin's telling folks, we got these secret weapons and we're showing them to you a little bit here and there. Guess what, y'all? Y'all got this same stuff. That's what he's doing. Is he trying to show how strong Russia is? Yeah, but he's trying to show the rest of the world if we got this stuff, so do them crazy Americans. Think about it. Well, you know, oh, where'd that $21 trillion of missing money go? Putin shows us, well, we've got this technology. America's, well, we don't know anything about that. Well, we got it too. He's showing some of this stuff off because he's trying to show disclosure. Hey, everybody, we've got this, so do the Americans. Pay attention. It ain't just us that we got this. They got it too, okay? Pay attention. You know, think about it. So every time you hear somebody, tinfoil, hey, the sky moves, the earth doesn't. What the moon is simply can't be what we were taught. Absolutely. Yeah, well, the moon isn't what we've been taught. That's absolutely for sure, but it's out of whack again, tinfoil. Things are in a wacky, sure enough, 2 week time. But anyway, but to finish up with this Ukraine business in Russia, every time you hear them talk about this and the Crimea and Ukraine, blah, 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 just think about Texas and New Mexico and Arizona and think about that Mexico wants it back. That's what this is about. Okay. So think about it in terms of where we live. Okay. Whoa, wait, man, Texas is part of Mexico, you know, as far as Dallas or whatever. Stop it. You know, and they want to start a war over this stuff. Stop it. Joe Biden, his son went to the Ukraine. Guess what? With the petroleum industry. And they overthrew one of those guys over there in the Ukraine area and so forth so that they could have the oil rights. All of this is documented. And the folks in that area were like, no, we didn't want this guy. You guys brought a war to us. And now that they want to have their sovereignty back and be a part of Russia and Putin and that type of thing, all of a sudden the Americans are thrown in. Putin wants to start war again. Net, 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 net. Net. You got to pay attention to the bigger story of what's going on. So about the earth changes themselves. Now, the big earthquakes in the well, it would be the Western Pacific for us. It'd be the Eastern Pacific to the folks over there. Lot of heavy duty, deep earthquakes. It's still moving towards the United States, y'all. And the idea, because of the Schumann resonance, and I'm wondering what this 24 frequency modulation is, what it's going to do to the magma. But you know, the scientists are still saying the magma is on the move under the planet. And south of the border, they're going into summer. So it's like, you know, I don't know how hot it's going to be in Australia and those countries in the south, but they're going into their summer, but it's damn cold and miserable up here in the United States. To have a full day of sunshine would be really nice about now. But that's my complaint. With a passive solar house, to have cloudy weather for 10 days straight almost, it's like so much for passive solar. But and then on those clear days, the other day the sun was out and beautiful, the house was warming up, doing exactly what it's supposed to do, sun shining in the windows, and an hour and a half later there was so many chemtrails. During the middle of the afternoon, the temperature dropped 3 degrees in my house within an hour. 3 degrees it dropped at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, full sunshine, chemtrails. So my house got progressively colder when it should have warmed up for another 2 hours, because 4 o'clock's about as much as I get sunlight here to heat the house. But to the point, at 2 o'clock, I had already lost solar, what they call solar gain into the house due to the chemtrail spray. Now, the ET message is on that, because I've been asking them, when y'all going to stop this shit? We're all tired of this mess down here. Even those of us who have planned like passive solar and blah, 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 and so forth. When you guys going to stop this mess? And ET's answer has been, we've gone through all the channels, and if they don't stop soon, we're going to start seeing some of them get shot down out of the sky. Now, I hate to say it, but I would love to see a couple of those chemtrail planes explode. I would love to just see one of them heading across the sky, just go. I would jump up and down, and I'm sorry, if there's a person inside, you should know better. If it's a drone aircraft, which is extremely possible, why put a person up there when they could just take them off and land them themselves? But, you know, I digress. But to see an airplane with chemtrails behind it pop in the sky, oh boy, oh joy. Let's see if that one takes place. We've been promised this for a long time. Now, I went through a period where it seemed like it calmed down, but nah. They're just salting different areas more heavily than not. Now, to my ET UFO sighting that I've seen out the window here. 2 nights ago, I was coming back from the store, and I'm at a high elevation, and a really good clear. It's about 325 feet above sea level. But on this one particular hill that coming home, I got a perfect view. I mean, it all the way down to the horizon. Beautiful. Stopped on the side of the road, took a couple of pictures, and watched the stars. And I was amazed where I keep seeing that UFO in the sky. There are no stars there, because I was like, okay, let me get to a higher elevation and check and see. There are no stars there. Now, 3 nights ago, we were coming out. It was kind of spotty, kind of clear, kind of not. And I noticed that from that same location where I've been talking about this, that I keep seeing this UFO, I saw something that really freaked me out. And it was a helicopter with a searchlight on the front of it, flying just above treetops at 1 o'clock in the morning. And the damn thing flew almost right over my house. Now, there's a lot of woods here, and the river runs all the way south into Thomasville and all the way into northern Florida. There's a lot of swamp. So it was like they were on this trajectory. But the thing was, they had this huge spotlight on the front of it. And as it was coming at me, I was like, oh man, that's some creepy stuff right there. There's my UFO. No, but it was moving in such a way it looked like it was in the trees. That's because it was just above them. So from my point of view, it did look like it was moving through the trees until it got overhead. And I mean, it was like just 50 feet to my right would have been straight overhead. I mean, that close. And I was wondering, who's flying helicopters at 1 o'clock in the morning with searchlights on them at treetop level? And it was a private helicopter. I could see the marking on the side. It wasn't a military grade helicopter, and it was a new one. So I could tell that simply by the flashing lights and by the front headlamp. So my brain went back to, is that what I've been seeing? It couldn't have been, because what I have seen with binoculars is changing colors and it stays in one position. This helicopter, I noticed, was obviously a helicopter. I could tell it was different. There was all these other things. So my brain went back to, what I have been observing is not a helicopter. Now, the next other thing is my brain went to, WTF is a helicopter. I'm talking treetop level. These folks ain't but 150 feet above the ground if they're that high. I mean, treetop level. Why are they flying under the radar? Literally. Why do they have a huge searchlight on the front of the damn thing? What are they looking for? They should, I think that the reason they had the searchlight on was so they could fly above the treetops to keep from hitting anything. That was my reasoning, because it's like anything above a certain level, they don't need their lights anymore. I can see them coming out of Tallahassee and Thomasville, sometimes out of Moultrie. I can see the airplanes are flashing light, and this is different. And what are these dudes flying that low for? And I'm talking about pell-mell. They weren't just like looking for something. They were hauling tail. Treetop level, 1 in the morning. What? Coming from the area that I've been talking about. There's an underground FEMA's complex there in Thomasville. Been there since before World War II. It was used during World War II. When during the 9/11, George Bush's airplane disappeared. There's a lot of evidence that it was landed in Thomasville, and he was taken to the underground bunker south of Thomasville, Georgia, here. So there's a lot of shenanigans that have been going on here around South Georgia, underground bases that are real. You can look it up in the FEMA thing under Thomasville, Georgia. It's there, well guarded. And the state owns the property above it. So, but anyway, so what else is going on? I've been talking about this for a while, but the thing is like this helicopter, and I've seen them during the daytime, again, flying so low that it's like, what are these guys doing? And I'm like, why aren't they flying another 200 feet up? Why are they just above the trees? Radar. Has to be. It has to be radar, because if they were up any higher, they'd get spotted. But to fly across the tops of the trees the way they've been doing, and in the middle of the night was search. Oh my God. I was sorely amazed. Now the weather's been really bad here the last couple, well, today, but 2 days ago. Um, and I saw it when the weather cleared. It was, I guess, would be 3 days ago now when I saw this helicopter. It just strictly amazed me. I'm out of here in the middle of freaking woods. What are helicopters doing this low to the ground at that time of day or night? Or even to the point, though, during the daytime, there's plenty of airspace up there. Why are they flying at treetop level? To stay out of the radar. Don't have a clue why, but there's some shenanigans going on, and it's really picked up this last week. Just saying. Now we'll see what happens when the weather clears here. It's supposed to clear up here tomorrow and into Saturday. We'll see. But from a cosmic energy point of view, there's a lot of, and I'm just going to say agitation, in that the frequencies are agitating things, much like a jeweler will use a sonic cleanser. If you take a ring to them or something, they'll drop it in a little device, and it uses sound vibrations and stuff to clean the ring. So there's no actual scrubbing involved. It's used in industry a lot, of vibrators and things like that. And so I think each one of us is being agitated by these new frequencies. It's going to be interesting to see what turns out on the other side. From my location down here in the South, I'm really curious as to what these buggers are up to with these helicopters and stuff. I mean, I'm just like, I don't get it. But as I've said in the past, there are a lot of these, there's some very old money down here in the South. I mean, the Standard Oil Company, Maybelline, a lot of companies, a lot of the rich folks have big plantations down here. And Lord knows what goes on in some of those places. So a lot of rich folk got a lot of property down here. And only the folks who live around here actually know that some of these folks are actually do own, thousands of acres with huge mansions on them, with underground tunnels and caverns. And oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. So the messages that are coming down from higher up are that continue to lock into your higher vibrations and stay on your inner tube. No fancy stuff at this particular time because of these new energies and the fact that they're being, like this 24 frequency thing. It's so consistent that we need to get used to it. And what I mean by fancy stuff or shenanigans, if you're new to doing any kind of channeling or astral projection, stay close at home. And I keep bringing this up in that, don't go out wandering around in the universe right now. Stay close to home. Sure, practice, but be careful. There is a lot of different energies that are fluctuating right now. And for even those of us who are practiced at this for many, many years, it's difficulty because these frequencies are vibrating in such a way in that none of us are used to this. And so the first thing I do is like, oh, we're going to meditate and go do a little, forward thinking here. What's coming up in the future? And they're telling me, you don't even want to go there. The vibrations are so different and where I'm vibrating now, I wouldn't understand what I'm seeing because the vibrations are different. And it's like, what you talking about, Willis? I'm serious. What you talking about? Oh, but you're vibrating at a frequency now, but the future is vibrating at another frequency. How can I see the future accurately if my frequency doesn't match? What I'm going to see is going to be distorted. Oh, that's damned interesting. That in itself. You know what I'm saying? What? Don't look for the future because it's already there, but it's at such a higher frequency for those of us. Because for the last year, I've been getting little premonitions like what's coming up for the next 2 weeks, something to talk about. And here recently, it's just been like, somebody shut the telegraph off. It's not that there isn't any communication. That's not it. It's just whatever's out there is like, just do what we asked you to do. There's this period of time right now. Keeping your core value, meditate within yourself. And when I did that reading online with these animal cards, one of the cards that came out, and one of the things I was reading about is that, there we look at the four cardinal points: north, south, east, and west, and each one of them has, in a spiritual sense, it has energies to it, and I don't want to say powers, but sort of powers. And but then there are then there are three more. There's above and below and within. And so in my last 2 weeks, it keeps calling back to the within. And it's not that we need to withdraw ourselves, but we need to hold our energy still inside of us and meditate on that. Because the more stronger we are inside as we adjust to these new frequencies, then the new frequency of, quote, the future will it'll clear up. It'll be like you get to the edge of a radio station and it's fading in and out until you make that one next click and it puts it dead on the thing, and now you've got stereo, Woo. So it's sort of like that. We're getting a lot of static right now, and it's showing up on the Schumann resonance. So how much longer do we have to put up with this? A while. Now, the ET says, I ain't trying to verify this, I'm just updating. ET says that after the first of the year, there's going to be some serious... And the reason is because for each solstice, the summer solstice and the winter solstice, which is coming up on the 21st, 22nd of December, here in 10 days or so, 9 days, 8 days, anyway, shortly. That's when it's going to be the longest day for us in the wintertime. I'm sorry, the shortest day for us in the wintertime, and the longest day for the folks in Australia and south of the equator, which is summertime for them. And so we have a solstice twice a year, summer and then winter, okay? And so we're coming into the winter solstice. There's a lot of energy in the winter solstice, as is with summer. But because of where we are, we're leaving these other planets. We're detaching ourselves as we come around the sun. There's going to be some energy changes. And so ET says, yep, they're coming. Now, what does that mean? Not a clue. Just that they're sort of giving us a warning. And that stay on our inner tubes. And I use that reference in waves, stick on your inner tube, because we're on this roller coaster ride with these waves right now, and these energy waves. What is being consistent, though, are some of these, this multiple of 8. So just a curiosity, from me to you guys, just keep an eye on it. See what's up. How is it affecting you? How is it affecting the people in your realm, so to speak? And some of these folks I've seen walking around, some of them seem to be getting crazier. I don't know, but there you go. So, but there seems to be a lot riding on January. And I mentioned that there were things that were going to start popping out around end of February, early March of next year. And that still seems to be the contention. I was shown February and March of next year back a couple of months ago. I may have mentioned it or not, but I'm mentioning it again now. And it seems that Simon Parks, some other folks, and depending on who you want to listen to, but a lot of the things that Simon Parks spoke about many years ago is coming true. And he has spoken about, maybe that's where I got the brain thought, but it's come to me on my own as well. But he has spoke about that, February, March of 19 was going to be an especially whatever kind of time. and that the end of this year has still got some surprises in it, but the big bang's supposed to come after the first of the year. So we'll see about that. I can't verify any of this stuff except just keep an eye on it. This human residence is proving itself. The fact that the moon has gone into an extreme wobble, um, in my own opinion, helps me to understand why the entire United States is in this huge ass storm right now, and all the weather and so forth. You can look at the jet streams and tell that shit ain't right, which means now that the Earth is wobbling again with the moon, because when I have noticed the celestial objects where Orion and Pleiades were straight over my head 2 weeks ago, 2 nights ago, it was 30 degrees to the south of where it should have been. So it's not just the moon that's wobbling, the earth is back at it again. And there for a couple of weeks, I mean, I was so proud. If you watched my previous videos, I was like, yeah, dude, we're back. Well, we're back to big. The wobbling seems to be worse now than it was before. Hey, babe. I was like pulling for ET. Now, I haven't been able to observe the moon enough because of it going into last quarter, the circumstances with clouds and chemtrails. And so I haven't been able to look at the position of the moon to be able to give any type of, I'm not even going to go there. It looked like the other night when I saw it setting, it looked like the moon had went from looking this way, that it had rotated its face. And I was like, that just looked odd, because it's not supposed to be doing the rotation thing. It's supposed to, anyway, you get my drift. But then last night before the clouds came in, my observations, and I took several of them last night with no moon, clear sky, and my observations of Orion and Pleiades and everything were right on the money. They were exactly where they were supposed to be. 5 hours later, I went to the store, and coming back, I could see everything in the eastern sky because I basically heading east to come home. But to the point where everything was clearly visible, perfect in the sky. And then by about 4 a.m. last night, I went outside to do my check, and everything had shifted to the south. So the Earth is really, really at it again. All these constellations aren't moving. And I'm using this one particular piece of software that I'm trying to relearn. I took astronomy in college and didn't pursue it because there's no money in it. But I actually did take courses, and a lot of it I've forgotten. And so in trying to retrain my brain back to all those things I've lost, I've been studying star charts again. So this particular one, I can set the time and the date and everything, and my position in the United States, and I can tell where south, north, everything. I'm looking around, and I'm thinking to myself, well, these star charts have been here for millennium, right? The North Star doesn't appear to be the North Star anymore. And so there is some shifting going on in that respect, but that takes a long time to do. However, it would explain partially some of these things going on. However, the North Star changing position also is indicative to the Earth wobble, okay? Because if the North Star is always supposed to be at the same location every night when I go out, and it's not, then that tells me we're wobbling. Now, it's hard for me because of my neighbor's security lights for me to see the northern sky the way I need to. I was able to observe it last night coming home from the store, and I was like, the North Star is low in the sky, which meant being low, it shifted Pleiades and everybody into its normal position. But by 4 a.m, when I went outside, I can see the North Star at certain times if I get just right in between the trees and I block out the light. Anyway, the North Star was higher in the sky. So we're wobbling every single day again. on a we're really rolling. So things are going to be ugly. I don't know for how long. We'll see how things go when we make this turn on the 21st, 22nd of this month, and we get to the backside of the sun and away from these other planets. We'll see. We'll see. That's also going to keep us out of the protection of these other planets. But it's also, we're going to lose the influence of Jupiter, Saturn, and in fact, we've already lost Jupiter, I think. And Saturn, we should be losing soon, meaning that we're going to be on the opposite side of the sun from it. And Mars will be next, and then Neptune, and then Uranus. That's the lineup. And so all of these are moving out. Now we are coming into the morning when Venus is high in the sky. And also Mercury is in Libra at the moment, which I'm Libra. So does that mean I want to go to war? Well, not exactly, but and depending on where what tradition, Mars was the war god. I'm sorry, Mercury was the messenger. I knew I had that wrong. So the messenger. So now that Mercury is in Libra, it's like, is that the messenger coming in now? Are we going to start seeing more messages coming in to those of us of the Libra persuasion per se? And there are those who think, and I'm a little sort of on this side, that there are a lot of Palladian folks who are Libras because we seek balance. And there are those folks who I've met who are Libra that I would say that tendency seems to be true from what I know of Palladians. However, there are those Libras who have become unbalanced, and I don't know, they've been infected by something else. I don't know what to say about that. It's just a curiosity, and it's just an observation. But Venus is up in the early sky now and high up to where it's almost in Virgo. So we're going to be affected by the goddess of love and with the messenger. So the messenger of love, Venus, good energy, heart energy. Sounds like, we're going to come out of all these other effects from all these other planets, and we're going to be getting the messenger, and we're getting Venus. And that's in the east, which is what's coming at us. What to look forward to is Mercury. Good message of love. And I'm not even into the astrology thing. I'm just using some basic things and what is physically happening in the universe, in our solar system. So what does that have to do? Keep an eye on it. To me, it's good news. Wow, good news. Mercury, sure. Messenger, all right, let's go with that. Love, Venus, absolutely. I'm all for that. And what is the message I keep, shouting out? Keep your core values intact. Focus on that. Meditate on your own core self. Not that you can't share, but right now, with all these frequency changes, we need to stay within ourselves. We need to hold true. Don't let enough. How do I explain this? Don't overextend yourself in the spiritual sense. Send out prayers, and I've always said that the best effect of a prayer is a short burst. Say the person's name if you know it. Say what's wrong with them, and ask Creator to fix it, correct it, or offer whatever prayer it is. But send it and leave it, and don't dwell on it. Don't dwell on your prayer for someone else. It's actually counterproductive. But at the same time, with these things that are going on right now, it's best not to try anything new until after we get around the corner. Because when we lose the influence of all these other greater planets, I think mentally wise, things are going to clear up for some of us. We're going to lose these influences. So we're going to be able to hear the message of love, if you will. That's what they're kind of telling me at the moment about this. So, do we have anything to look forward to? Well, hell yeah. Well, and people aren't the people haven't been arrested yet, but the indictments are on the table. People are actually talking about the Clinton Foundation and stuff. Other things are happening. The 21 trillion missing dollars is being discussed a lot. We're supposed to get a new Congress, new things. There's a lot of shenanigans. I mean, here, even on the local level, on the state level, some shenanigans are being um, worked out. They cheated me on my taxes this year. There's some weird stuff going on. And that's all I'm going to say right now. But even on the local level, there's some shenanigans going on. And they're going to be reported to the state attorney general. And they will have to look into these matters. Ooh. And if there's fraud here within my county and this local area, well, we'll see how that pans out. But that's all I'm going to say. But there's some shenanigans going on a lot of different levels. And but we need to make sure that we don't just go off in a huff. We need to take a minute and a huff. That's an old joke from yeah. I got a million of them. I can see Groucho Marx, but anyway, and the Marx Brothers. 333, 333. Oh, 334. Yeah, I see you. Gotcha. But anyway, so we need to stay with our core values and know that there are good messages in the future. I guess that's the message for tonight. In the long grand scheme of things. But the earth wobble, I was hoping, honest to God, if you watched my video before, you know that I was like, woo, the earth is going to get back to normal. Oh, shit. It ain't nowhere near back to normal. If anything, it's gotten worse. So we'll see. Now, like I stated, I haven't had enough time to be able to see the moon to make any other observations about it. So I'll keep you updated as that goes on. Now I'm gonna find my glasses and read some of your comments. Whoa, there it goes. Yeah, stay in the heart, tinfoil, and don't even try to get out of it. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Pink, how far south are you in Florida? I grew up in Tampa, and I was noticing tonight on the radar that coming out of Tampa, you can see a curve in the clouds and in the rain that's keeping Clearwater. Yep, I used to go over there, go swimming all the time at the Clearwater at the pier. I don't even know if that pier is still there, but anyway, yeah, grew up going over to Clearwater Beach and Dunedin Beach and all that. But we've had rain here, and it seems like it's being funneled, channeled, or whatever. And it's interesting because it's like, you down there in Clearwater, it's like you're not getting the rain. And I got folks in Dade City and Zephyr Hills and over there, and it's still there. Yep. And it's like, what's going on with this crazy stuff, So, they're modifying the weather. You can see it on the radar. I mean, you can see these bands, and it's like when the rain tries to get close to it, you see this arc, and the storm doesn't get any closer to it, and it rides up north. That's what today's just a couple hours ago, before I started this video, I was doing all my checking on the radar and everything, blah blah blah, and it's like, holy crap. Yeah, tinfoil. Yeah, a lot of times it dissipates before it gets on land, and that's due to they're using now. MacDill Air Force Base has got some really strange apparatus out there, and I'm thinking that part of that isn't necessarily the radar from the local television stations like WCTV or and that's not the one. There's another one anyway, Channel 8 and down there WFLA. But anyway, I think it's coming out of the MacDill Air Force Base. And the reason I say that is because when I look at the radar weather here, I can see some folks are calling it the next red. I'm not sure what it is, but it's coming out of Valdosta, and Valdosta has Moody Air Force Base. And then when you go up, around Warner Robins, there's an Air Force Base up in Middle Georgia, around Perry and Warner Robinson up in there. And you can see these radar images in the clouds. But when I look at where they're at, there are military bases there. It's not just our local radar, Doppler radar, that's doing these emissions into the atmosphere. What does that mean? Not sure, but in my opinion, it must have a lot to do with whatever the military base is. Now, could they be controlling it? Absolutely. And what are their reasons? Who knows? But my observations are that there is a military base near where some of these occurrences are. That's my point. Versus uh, a a local television station or whatever. Yeah. Frankie Avalon, 1959, right? I was here. Yeah, I remember Frankie Avalon. I remember hearing his records, I mean, like firsthand on the radio kind of things. Yep. What's Frankie Avalon in 1959, tinfoil? I was here. I was born in 52. So, yep, I've been around. But remember, Western astrology is wrong. You have to check Vedic. That may be why some Libras don't fit, because they aren't. Here's something else too that I've noticed with Libras and other folks too. You have to include the Chinese calendar in with this. And so I'm a water dragon if you go by the Chinese calendar, along with the fact that I'm a Libra. So there are other factors in the astrology, not just the Vedic, but I've thrown in a lot more of the Chinese astrology in a way, because it seems like this 12-year cycle, there are cycles built into some of these things. 12 constellations, 12, months of the year, blah, blah, there's something in that. And so it's like, interesting. But also the different, again, animals, whether it's rat and the fact that they're a dragon. So there are a lot things to be said about dragon people, for example. So, and then the water element, along with it. So, which explains why I live on a swamp and water and why I'm attracted to it, etc. Now I'm not attracted to the ocean, which is interesting, but I am attracted to water. Okay. Tinfoil, you say, oh, Venus, I remember that song from way back when I was born. Oh, that's where you brought up Frankie Avalon. I went back up. Oh, Venus. Yep. I do remember that. I'm backing up here. If I hadn't seen time lapse of the night sky and how Polaris stays put, it might have took millennia for me to ever understand a damn thing about the sky. I still know less than nothing. It's humbling. Absolutely. And tinfoil, it's really, frustrating for me, because I've got charts that are 30 years old that I run off on a copy machine, from to study the stars with. And, the books that I had that were burned up in the house fire in 82, I had some astronomy books that were like kick butt. And technical information, that should still be useful today, but to the point. So when I go out and I know that something's supposed to be in a certain location in the night sky, and it ain't there, or it's moved, the whole sky doesn't move. But Polaris, because of the wobble, it would appear that our North Star isn't our North Star. Not that it isn't, because technically it still is. But what one of the things that I asked years ago about the North Star was the North Star the same as it is now back in the days of the Egyptians? And the answer is no. So how in the hell are they using the North Star, which wasn't their North Star, if you go back 2,500 years or so ago? It was a different North Star. There was a different pole star. Ooh, really? So that makes some of this other conjecture like really out there. Now, but to the point that the fact that it lines up with any accuracy whatsoever, whether it's the old North or the new North, is still very humbling in itself as far as um, how the Egyptians laid out the pyramids. If it was the Egyptians, I think it was somebody else. But anyway, but to that point, though, so Polaris is still the center of how the stars move around it, but it's not necessarily in the same degree location above the horizon at all times. So in that respect, the North Star moves from our location, not that it's moving in the sky. Your Pink Angel says your house faces west. You get the sun in my windows every evening. I've definitely noticed. I've taken daily pictures that show how the sun is jumping north and then back south again. See, that's not the sun. That's us, Pink. But you're verifying the fact that we are in a wobble and how bad the Earth is actually wobbling. You're taking pictures of what I've been doing and other people have been doing as well. In that, oh, guess what? It didn't set in the same damn place it did yesterday. Well, neither is the moon. But the moon, because it's attached to the Earth, is wobbling in its own way along with the Earth. But the Earth wobble is showing up in one day I see, this is to my southwest looking out this window. And when I see the sun clearly setting over there, I'm like, well, this is the time of year and the sun's real low in the sky. But then 2 nights later, it sets up over here. And I was like, that ain't normal. It should be lower because this is supposed to be the longest day, or I'm sorry, the shortest day, the longest night of the year coming up. So it's like, you're proving that the earth is wobbling there, Pink. Let me go back up. Tinfoil says, if I went 30 or 50 degrees out of place, I would wonder if I would even notice. I can't be relied upon for any reliable observations thus far. Tinfoil, what I did was I took 2 sticks out in the yard and I took my compass and I said, okay, the compass says this is east. And I put one here and I put one there, a couple of feet apart, so that I can use them as a stable point. And at the time I put those stakes in the ground, they were exactly east due to the compass readings at that time. So everything is relative. Now I went out and checked those same 2 stakes that I put in 2 years ago, and it's not quite east. But now all I have to do is go out of my yard and line up between those 2 stakes, which is nothing more than little pieces of pole. They're sort of like tomato stakes. Anyway, and put them in the ground, and I go out there and I go, okay, that's supposed to be east. It's a couple of degrees because of the earth wobble thingy. But if I'm looking and the sun's supposed to come up relative to those 2 positions. So today I look and it's to the left of it. That's a little north of east. Okay, north-northwest. I mean, north-northeast. However, 2 days later, I look, it's coming up from the south-southeast. Still coming up in the east, yes, but relative to those 2 stakes I put in the ground, those are my focal points. So my observation is from that. And anybody can do that. And the degree is whether or not you go, well, here it is, and it's there, 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 there. Just figure out approximately how many degrees that is with a protractor. Guessing is good, but after a while, you get to see that about a hand width is, almost 5 degrees when you extend your arms out to look at things. So it's like you can put your hand up and go, well, that's about 5 degrees, roughly. Well, that's 3 handfuls. Well, that's 15 degrees, roughly. So you can do these things just by, simple methods. But the reason that put me in this is like being that I live in a solar house, noticing one day the sun come up in one window and then it comes up over here the next and then back over here 3 days later and then wait a mess over here a week after that and then back over here. All I got to do is look out my windows. My house is a reference point. So just like you, Pink, you're looking out your western window, you notice things. It's like, what the hell's going on? Quartz Quantum says, my intuition told me that change really is coming and that we will not have to deal with the lie much longer. Trust in the light. I agree. And a lot of folks are feeling that. To what degree? Well, that is to be said. Tinfoil, that's respectable, but then so is a 71, so the heart can be more powerful anyways. Smart ain't what it's about if humans are to compete at all. That's true, Tinfoil. Pink, I don't advertise that, but I'm saying in context of this, I'm thinking, now. I agree. I've never cared about that. I've always been a people person. I've had absolutely no interest in business or politics. Um, the sun is setting further north than it was or should be. Wax and wane should take 28 days, but it completes a whole cycle in one night. Yep, that's what's so interesting. Court says politics was not the reason why I woke up. Politics was only part of it. Politics was the confusion, you know. Court says I have been wanting to wake up and see that everywhere on earth is in one frequency of love. Yep. I'm going back up the thing. The Zetas. I hope not Nancy Leader Zetas. I heard that there's like a dozen or more different sorts of grays, even all colors. Go watch Arcturus Ra's video. It's really interesting. The essential tinfoil says the essentials are wait, the Assassini are just that part of us, part of them. Like Bashir, big eyes and big, super smart, telepathic. Yes, this was yesterday. Someone mentioned Arcturus Ra in a disparaging manner, and I had to say no. He's freaking cool, and I always liked that guy, Star Trek boy. Quartz, you say that I feel that Arcturus Ra's information is not of the 3D. Pink says it's opera for me. I'm having a lot more experiences, a lot of deja vu moments. I'm feeling like I'm more connected to source and information. I'm with you, Pink. I'm absolutely with you. Tinfoil, you say I was told I was connected to them too, or somehow related to Arcturians, but I ain't sure what that means. How many races claim Arcturian status, right? And what's in a race anyway? It's all about character, not race or social status or wealth or looks. It's about brain power, maybe, and heart power and the soul power, I guess. Um, Tinfoil, that's what's being channeled down, if you will, is that when we meet ET, whatever our distant relations or relatives are, and I've just known for myself I feel Palladian other than another because of my history of watching the star system and so forth when I was a kid. Just too many things to explain, but I don't have any positive proof that I'm Palladian. But the blue eyes and the certain traits and things. And okay, I tend to lean that way. That doesn't mean that I am, but all right. With that said, all star beings, I mean, you think of the countless millions of years of tinkering and flying around in this universe. And for those of us who are, visiting right now, we understand that this isn't just, a couple of thousand years old. This stuff's been going on for a long time and will continue for a long time. And then we're just part of the process in this. What I do feel is correct with some of these things, as I've stated before, some people are tied into. Now, I can't speak so much about Arcturus Raw, but anyway, I've spoke about this before, where some people are connecting to the universe. They're connecting to the library that relates to them, and I've been using that it's a branch library. The Akashic record and all these other things. And it's like you're recalling memories that you're related to. It doesn't mean that your Arcturus stuff is relative to my Palladian stuff or to the Lyrans or to the Zetas or to any other race. It's that, that is the history that you understand because you're related to that history. Doesn't mean that it's right or wrong. It just means that's that. You're at that branch library that has the information for Arcturus or whoever. Now, but the big library, the really big one, contains all of the knowledge, will show how each of these different races interacted. And I think that for most of us, that's way too much flipping information. And that when we go out there to pick up these things, we're picking it up from where we are familiar. It doesn't make it right or wrong. It just means that we're picking up these familiar things. And so certain things that Nancy Leader says, and I've been listening to her for years, and she kind of got me started on some of this. Well, but the Zetas say, and the this and the that, and the blah, blah, blah. And I can go along with some of it. Because right now, if you look at how the moon is wobbling around and where most of us, and I mean, even Pink is saying that the sun is setting in a different place, that proves the earth wobble. The Zeta said 25 to 30 degrees and the new North Pole and everything. We're already fluctuating that. Now, is the earth going to flip? I don't see it. Would a new North Pole get established? That's highly likely and extremely possible. But we've got rotation, we've got all this inertia built into the earth. And Nancy doesn't speak to any of this. She's just speaking about what the Greys are saying. And my point to this is that that's where she comes from, and that's the information she's getting. She's getting information from that branch library, but it doesn't necessarily coincide with information from other races, other places, other things. And it's like, okie dokie. Some of the information is correct in that we're wobbling like a SOB, right? And each one of us should be hunkered down because we don't know from one snowstorm to an electrical storm to a firestorm to a hurricane if we're going to have lights, electricity, water, or whatever. Because we are in this turmoil. Earth is always in a turmoil. We are just paying more attention to it. Now, I'm not going to say that Nancy Leader's a liar, but I just think she's got some information that's a little goofy is all. But some of this stuff is very true. Things are changing. Is the earth going to flip over? There's too much physical evidence that it would be extremely hard to do that. Stop something that's traveling at 1,000 miles. Wait a minute, 24,000. The earth is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour and take 24,000. Anyway, you get my drift. We're hauling butt spinning wise. Plus, we're moving through the universe. So all of these water bodies, all of these other energies within the earth, all the magma in the earth that is moving, that is being monitored, that the scientists are admitting to. How are you going to slow that magma down? You're just going to stop the earth, but everything inside still going to be wanting to wobble. The air masses, it couldn't happen, I guess. But when you bring in other things that Nancy doesn't speak about, when you discuss other items that Nancy doesn't speak about, this doesn't make sense. Well, this is going to end. The Earth's going to be dark for 3 days. How? I'm sorry. Can it happen? Anything's possible, but my likelihood of these things happening now. The Earth is already wobbling. Could its North Pole end up somewhere else? Absolutely. And science, when I was a kid in grade school in the early 60s, they talked about the wobble. So this is not new information at all. It's been in all the old science fiction movies from the 50s and 60s. All things about the Earth and the North Pole moving and cosmic energies coming from outer space and how it would affect us and the moon. I mean, this was told to us, in the 50s when I was growing up. So maybe that's why I have some of this information, because I've been watching science fiction since I was born, pretty much. So when you bring that into reality, and you think that some of these things like the speed of light and stuff like that is over 100 years old, and it's wrong. They've been lying to us. The speed of light is an average. Space isn't empty. Whoa, whoops. Ooh, there's dark. Oh, there's all these cosmic and maybe comets don't have icy tails, which I've been arguing about for many years. But it's like, so some of the things that seem to be like obvious to me just by looking at it, other people are like, ooh, this is a giant leap. No, it's a giant leap because you continue to believe what science taught you. And the scientists that I learned from taught me to be a free thinker. Just saying. So, yeah. Pink says, way back up, people who take pics of stars look like colored blobs through water that are constantly changing shapes. Exactly. But what I've been observing doesn't look like a ball. It looks like rods of light. And as they spin, they create an effect of a globular kind of glow. Very interesting. Pink, you say that you feel like you've been taken lately more than once. You have bruises on my leg, a pillow was on the floor, and I'm having those moments where my whole body jerks for no reason while I'm falling. Ooh, you've been getting a body jerk thing too? Holy crap. Yeah, that's been going on with me too. Yeah, Pink, I agree with you. I don't believe things that are what we were taught either, but I don't know what it is. Why Tinfoil says, why is moonlight actually cold, colder than moonshade? Who could say? You folks are I love it. You guys are absolutely wonderfully crazy. And I love hanging out with you folks. Let me scroll back down. Your IQ is 142. 136 comes to my mind as far as what my IQ was supposed to have been, but that was like a long time ago. And not that it matters. One of the things that have been black and white Libras, yeah. Let me put this out to you, Pink, if you're still with me. Is that the other day when I was doing some meditation on just kind of what's coming up, what to look forward to, how Rockies are going to be. I was just looking for information. Show me what you got, kind of thing. Nothing in particular, but it's just been kind of quiet on the home front, if you will. So what in my mind's eye, the sign of yin and yang, one side is white, one side is black, and one side, it looks like a comma in opposite directions. Okay, so just think about that. Now, but what I saw was, though, when I closed my mind's eye, was this swirling of of that sign. And so it was like the white was pushing the black around, and it was going counterclockwise. And as I meditated on the motion of this through my inside of my brain, or my mind's eye, the black white black white black white black white, and it was like it was drawing me into it. And that's all I remember until I woke up and went, what the was that? Holy crap. And so it was like, then I was told, you're okay, it's all right, but we're giving a visual of taking you wherever it is I'm going. I thought that was kind of strange in itself. Um, if the earth was spinning that fast, wouldn't we have a sunset and sunrise 1,000 times a day? Interesting, Pink. I think it's 1,000 miles an hour because in 24 hours we make it all the way around, and the Earth is 24,000 miles, if you believe the globe. I think that tinfoil says, I think there should have been considerable stellar parallax observed in my long lifetime, which tells me the astronomers and so-called astrophysics are full of it. Agreed. Consider the vast differences in those vast distances, those astronomically vast distances and differences. Exactly. And that's one of the things that I continue to discuss, like the comet dust, and that the universe is actually filled full of, my, my, my cosmic goo that I describe it as. But that if you understand that we're in this gooey kind of thingy and we're all in this together kind of thing, instead of blank, empty space, I don't know, it's kind of nice to have the idea that maybe we're surrounded by this really nice, they call it dark energy. I call it cosmic goo, that we're surrounded by this wonderful cosmic goo and that we're a part of it. It's sort of like a clear jello or gelatin, we're in it. And when we look through it, it looks dark in places, but, we're actually in a big bowl of jello, if you will. That's how I kind of look at it. But that we can go through the jello and anything. The night sky rather looks like a tent with lights upon it moving uniformly. They never moving in relationship to each other. This is counterintuitive to the conventional model. Parallax is absent. When we're in something, yes, but not on it, in some sense, anyhow. I agree with you. We're in it. We're a part of it. And cosmic goo. Can you actually reach out and touch it? I don't know, but I can feel air if I push my hand fast enough. I can feel it moving past my fingers, but I don't really actually feel the air. You know what I'm saying? So we know it's there. We know it's around us. I'm breathing it in. But so why can't there be cosmic goo in space? Why is it that it's just empty space? Earth is a consciousness, and the cosmos is conscious. That's part of what native traditions try to explain, and the native traditions here in the United States, at least, they all know that we're brought here by the star beings. They Native American cultures teach that we are brought here by star beings, that our grandfathers and our grandparents and our grandmothers and grandfathers and all of our relations, which include races that most people don't even think about in the native tradition, all of our relations mean our star being parents or relatives or relations. So it's like for the white folks, so well, I don't believe in that crap. Native Americans expect it. They know it. And yeah, there it is. And they know that Creator is separate from the star beings. They understand it. And they understand that the star beings are powerful like a god, but they are not gods. they understand the difference because they always say prayers to Creator who made all things, including all of the star beings. So Native Americans and many cultures understand things in a much deeper relationship than I say white people, but it's not just them, but to the it's the white folk idea, if you will. Well, the church and the this or that and everything else is hogwash, and it's like, sorry about that. I mean, even the folks that I've known from Mexico, they have a different sense of religion and spirituality. And that, the Day of the Dead, for example, people think, oh, well, they're worshiping the dead. They're giving honor to those that passed before. And they are saying prayers. They bring plates of food. It's an honor thing, and so, but it's to honor our ancestors and all of our relations, to bring that into, this cosmic thing that, yes, Mother Earth is a live being with a consciousness. Yes, the universe, every galaxy has its own central sun, and every one of those galaxies, this Milky Way galaxy, has its own consciousness. So what's going on in our galaxy with these energy waves coming out from its center is not necessarily what's going on in a neighboring galaxy, period, because we're in different space and time. Now, could it happen? Could these waves that are hitting our central galaxy, could they, go on out and on through space and hit another galaxy? Absolutely. Because these energy waves are just going to continue until something stops them, or an opposing force. Because there are certain physical things in physics that are still true. If you have two opposing forces heading towards one another, there's going to be a reaction. Now, depending on the different types of forces in the composition of what's in those waves, would make a difference of opinion as to what that reaction could be. But to the point, though, we need to understand on a higher conscious level that Native Americans already know that Mother Earth is real, and white people don't. Just as my reference point. So how do you get people to understand this new level of consciousness? Some people have to back up. Some people have to go back to what the ancients teach. We talk about it all the time. R. Wayne Steiger does a good job of discussing things from past and how it affects us now. There are other folks out there who do a wonderful job of, discussing what was going on now, how does it affect us now, and or does it? And my contention is the ET has been saying for quite a while now, for at least last couple of years, is that what is old will become new again. And that means that old traditions, old practices, and I say old practices in that when we understand that the divine is more than just a thought, that it's all of us combined, and that when we think together goes into this cosmic source, this pool of energy, and that then turns around and affects us all. So, there is this quantum relationship. So it's like, well, people say, oh, yeah, but I have to worship my God. Well, if you're worshiping anything, you're really backing up. But to the point there, it's like, it's not about worship. It's about respect. It's about honor. It's about loyalty. It's about so much more. There should be no worship of anything. That's just how that should go. But until people can back up their thoughts and understand this open consciousness, if you will. And I was watching a video the other day, and it's like, there's some old Catholic traditions and the Knights Templar and things that are going on. And it's like, I have to understand that there are some old traditions that we in the United States, simply because we live here, don't experience, because the folks in Europe are, it's their history, if you will. We observe it from a distance. But people who are there, for example, it would be like for someone coming over here and going to uh, uh, you know, uh, a Confederate reenactment or something, the Civil War reenactment. It's like, well, this is how it was. Well, that's how people wrote it down and remembered it. Yeah, okay. Well, but it means something to us, but it doesn't really mean anybody to in England per se. Ooh, that's interesting. But what about Guy Fawkes and some of the things that happen in Europe? Do we really have any? So there are a lot of traditions that we don't understand simply because of where we live. It's not our fault, but we get misinformation a lot. So it's like, oh, well, the Knights Templars, and they wear these things, and all they are is that, they're KKK from a previous thing. And it's like, what? Oh, because they wear white, and they don't wear a mask, but they do wear a head covering. Uh, you know, but there's nothing about closing off the face or anything. Oh, but they're wearing white, and they got a red cross just like the KKK, and it's like, how crazy can you people be? Now the KKK could have been born from a thought of what the Knights Templars were, and of course was bastardized by, folks here. But the idea of the original Knights Templar was to, safeguard the secrets and to safeguard, the Christ consciousness, and those things that have come forward, if you believe that. And so there is a part of me that wants to say that some of that stuff was just made up, and that the history doesn't really tell the truth. However, if you check with the folks in the Ukraine and over there and things, they are still doing ceremonies that are 2,000 years old, in that they're still following traditions like the Knights Templar did, and they are still holding the secrets that they have been charged to be, to protect. And we don't get this information. So we look at it third, fourth, fifth hand, and so many voices telling it. But when you hear it from the people, which is what YouTube is about, when you hear it from the people who are there, you go, holy crap, this is different. There may be more to this story than what, Christ died. No, there are people who have parts of his cross. What? Yes. There are people who have things that, what? Oh, yeah, you think the Shroud of Turin is something. These folks have got some stuff. Oh, my God, if you knew they had it. Thus, why is there so much turmoil going on in this area of the Ukraine and stuff like that? Because that's where some of these secrets are and have been hidden for centuries. And the bad guys have been trying to get a hold of it. Some of it's been in Turkey. What? Thus the war in Turkey or in Afghanistan? What? Oh, that could bring in why they're wanting to make war. There are artifacts that have been hidden for a long time, and these folks want them because they want to use these artifacts and draw upon those energies, whether it be of the Christ or not, but just saying, there are some peculiarities when you understand there's more going on over there. And I'm using the Ukraine as just a general, and I shouldn't be, because some of it's in Poland and Bucharest and just other places, Constantinople, Kirill, the basically the Pope of the Orthodox Church. He is still very highly regarded, and the Russian Orthodox Church is the one true church. If you want to, I was raised a Catholic, and the Catholics say, but the Orthodox broke away from the Roman Catholics. It was the opposite. The Roman Catholics said, well, we're with Rome. And the other guy said, no, I'm sorry, we're with Russia and Constantinople and all these things over here. And we're breaking away from you. We're going to hold these things we hold truth. And then the Roman Catholics, they went to Rome and did the Vatican, all this stuff, changed everything, and then turned around and said, you Orthodox, you left the church. Actually, it was the other way around. So Krill, the the uh, I can't think of his title, but anyway, he's the head of the Orthodox Church. Him and Putin are good friends. How about that? So is Putin tied in with the church? Yes, but he's tied in with the old church. These old churches, if you've ever seen some of these Byzantine churches, and I studied them as an architect, and the frescoes and the paintings and stuff, these things were accurate down to details of spaceships up in the corners and things, flying objects, in paintings of Mary or other of the saints. And they want to say, well, that guy must have been crazy. What? They painted things accurately back in those days. They painted what they saw. Why would they put in a spaceship in a in 300 AD in a Byzantine church somewhere? Well, give me a break here. So one could argue that the Orthodox Church, which we know very little about, and what I can talk about the Catholic Church and how screwed up they made the rest of the world, versus what's going on in the Ukraine and over there with the Orthodoxy and the old traditions that they still hold their faith to, that we have somehow forgotten. They're still reading the old original versions of the Bible, and they're holding traditions, and there are still Knights Templars. There are still organizations that are secret, that are holding the secrets of the Christ. And how much do we know of that? We just know of war. Well, there are things coming back out of over there. A lot. We don't get to see the UFO pictures unless, the channels, and we'll put up with some Russian or, and it's like, how about that? Interesting. Why is Putin defending over there? There's other things going on. Folks are trying to still continue to get the artifacts to use against us. And they're not succeeding. They just simply aren't. And so the Christ energy is alive and well on planet Earth. There was also, this Oumuamua thingy that went by us that, now all of a sudden was, a spaceship and guess what? Here's one for you. And you guys have waited this long to hear it. Guess what? There are people, places in the Ukraine, and I'm using that as a broad spectrum thingy, in that there was a beings on that spaceship. And the reason it changed directions was because it got fragged by the opposition, by the Choristas with a K, Choristas. And that they destroyed this entity who was sent from another planet and another solar system on purpose to come here to, quote, help the black hats to come back in and create more havoc and more chaos. And the fact that it shows, because there are videos of when this thing, and I mean from satellite imagery, okay, of this thing coming in, and it was not tumbling. Okay, now this is that big asteroid thingy, Oumuamua. Okay, and then, but all of the other pictures have shown it in this tumble. Well, when it first came into view, it weren't tumbling. What got this thing to tumble on its way out of the solar system? And as the scientist had projected its trajectory, it didn't go the way it was supposed to go. It somehow picked up speed and went in another direction. Well, that's because it was pushed out. Now, this is what ET says, and a different set of ET, mind you, but still ET, and that it was the Christus with a K, Kristus, Christus, which are the Christ energy beings. These would be like angel groups, if you will, but that have been here, are part of the Knights Templar, who are part of so many other things that we don't understand. And the Choristas are here to stop these other, like the Vlash, VLASH, Vlash. And these are some shape-shifting entities that are really, 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 really strange and nasty, and have been photographed, have been shown, and even here in the United States, but mostly over, again, I use the Ukraine as just a broad spectrum, but that these beings have been videotaped shape-shifting and appearing and doing some literally crazy things. Now it's like, so we don't hear about this, and unless you've got the right channel, and whether or not you do your study history and a little bit of your own, it's like we're only hearing very little parts of this big planetary story that's going on. So the ET message is coming in from a lot of other countries, especially Ukrainish area, and with Putin, and with the Russians, and with the Swedes, and with other folks. Now that's the reason why some of the EU and the Greeks said a long time ago, F you on this Euro stuff. The Italians, F you, the other countries over there, forget about it with this EU business. And so, but these are the folks who are using tradition. These are the folks tied into the old church. And I got to say that when I look back past the Catholic Church and the Orthodox moving, there's a lot to the Orthodox Church I could still believe in as, quote, if I was to go back into a religion, I would say these people at least are using the ceremonies in a good way versus trying to always talk about death and blah, blah, blah. They're looking at Jesus as he brought light into the world. He brings enlightenment. And one of the passages in the King James Version of the Bible that was changed in Revelations, I've noted it in previous videos, but when you look at the old text, it says, in the New King James Version, it says that he's speaking with the angel, I think. I think it's the first time John speaks to the angel in about chapter 18 or 19. And he's like, Jesus is going to come back, and the Lord will come back, and he's going to bring a light with him. That's what the King James Version says. But when you go back to the old text, it says that the Christ will return and bring enlightenment. Now, what do you think is going on right now with the planet? If the Christ consciousness is here, which I do believe it is, through the Choristas and through other things that are on the other side of the planet from us that we're not very much aware of. Most of us aren't. I keep tabs of it. And that's why when I say some of these things, it's like, I'm not just hearing things from our side of the fence. I'm listening to stuff on the other side of the fence. And so, but with this Christ consciousness that he's back, it's that's how we warded off this horrible thing of Mau Mau Mau. That's why it was seen leaving our solar system on a weird trajectory. Because the good guys, the Christ consciousness folks, are here again. Now, one could say, well, Christ was said to come back and appear out of the sky and in the clouds. And well, but Could Jesus be a part of the Charistus of a long, 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 long lineage of other beings from another planet, from another universe, and that they were here to enlighten the entire planet for this time right now, for when these energies were to receive us. So they saw it coming out of our central sun 2,000 years ago. They knew this shit was coming at us. So now, to prepare us all, why did Jesus come here in the first place? To kind of get us ready, because he knew something was coming. It was going to take 2,000 years to get here. Okay, fine. Is it here now? Is the Christus back? I say yes, because of the signs that I've seen. Is the Christ consciousness back on earth? I say yes, because all of these people are waking up to this idea. But one could say it's the Buddha consciousness as well. But Christ studied he studied Buddhism. So, but it's the consciousness level, stupid. That's what we need to focus on. Is it the Christ? Well, is it the Buddha? Well, is it the Hindu? Well, is it the creator? Well, but the bottom line is it's the consciousness. And Tinfoil, I think you might have said, it was one of you guys anyway, that the earth has a consciousness. And I've been trying to explain this to people for a long time, until you back up and understand that what you're standing on has a consciousness, that the trees are attached, and the whole universe is alive. And until you can accept this in your brain, you mean Mother Earth can think for herself? Yeah. She's going to throw a lot of the unbelievers off on her own. She ain't going to need no God to take care of us, But she's warning those of us who understand, hunker down. I'm warning you, earthquakes, warn, 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 big storms, warn, warn, warn. What am I telling you? Hunker down. Am I telling you that the earth is going to be destroyed? No. What's Mother Earth telling all of us? Hunker down. Pay attention. Do we need, to have, quote, God to tell us or any of the seers to tell us? No. Pay attention to what Mother Earth tells us on a daily basis. Hunker down, at least for the time being. But with some of these other things that a flock of seagulls, yeah. Do any of you remember reading the book Jonathan Livingston's Seagull? I read it years ago in the late 60s or 70s. And I'm not sure, but I want to say that Herman Hesse wrote it. I might be wrong with that, but Jonathan Livingston's Seagull. And the idea is that here was Jonathan, and he was just a seagull, but he always wanted to go faster. And the rest of the flock was like, Jonathan, you're a seagull, just fly. And he was like, no, man, I'm going to fly up there with the eagles, And he would learn how to fly and deep dive and all this stuff and learn how to do tricks. And the seagull clan got together and said, Jonathan, if you don't quit doing these, aerodynamic splits and things, which seagulls aren't supposed to do, we're just going to ban you. And so they did. And Jonathan, he was like, well, then, so here he was with a flock of seagulls and no longer being able to. So he kept striving to be better, to do more, to do deep dive turns and stuff out of the skies that other seagulls weren't doing. And a seagull appeared beside him at one time, apparently flying effortlessly, his wings barely moving. And Jonathan was like, oh my God, there's another seagull next to him. And the seagull was like, you are one of the few seagulls that have attained this higher consciousness. Come with me, Jonathan, and I will show you how to fly faster than any bird. And he takes Jonathan into this other realm and then he was the master of his seagull clan, who rejected him, accepted into a higher level of a seagull clan, but then became an apprentice. because it was a new way of thinking how to fly. And so, in that, he learned how to fly with thought and without his wings, and how fast he could move. And then, as the story goes on, it's a really short story. The book's only like this thick. But at the end of the story, Jonathan becomes the master, teaching other apprentice seagulls how to do this faster flying. And then one day, this old seagull that taught him appeared to him, and he realized that there was even another level of flight above it. And Jonathan simply disappeared into this other realm, a higher state of consciousness. Now, I've always thought about this story, Jonathan Livingston Seagull, and I thought, oh my God, you used a seagull and flying at different speeds and whatever to explain the human consciousness. And that if we learn how to, quote, fly inside ourselves, astral project, whatever you do, that when you learn certain things, then you become an apprentice in the next level, which is what I've been trying to explain along the way about this fourth, fifth dimension. It's a transition. It ain't an ascension. We've got to become an apprentice in the next realm, because that's just how it works. We can't learn to jump off the high dive, and having never seen a high dive or water before, we got to learn. We got to become an apprentice. Now, we might, because of our past histories, learn really quick, which is those of us who are practicing these things, I think is going to allow us to ascend this ladder quicker than other folks, simply because we've got more practice at it. That's all. I mean, if you've ever been on a racetrack and run at 120 miles an hour, you don't know what speed is and what doing a corner is. And I mean, I've been there. I used to race cars back in the day. And I've got a car out my front drive that'll do 130 easy. It's a Toyota. Oh my God, this thing will fly. But to the point though, it's like when you get up past 80 miles an hour, unless you're really used to driving fast, going 100 miles an hour, which is okay, 20 miles faster, that's really flying. And when you go over 100 and push that 120 mark, you are really flying. But until you get there, until you have actually driven that fast, it's just a thought in your head. But when you actually go that fast, and then somebody comes along and says, yeah, but that's just that car. Come over here. I got a speed racer. I got one that goes 200 miles an hour. If you think 120 was fast, you're going to leave shit in the seat when you get in this car. So I'm using this racing thing and Jonathan Livingston Seagull as a metaphor, but in that we first have to learn how to drive before we can ascend or do this transition. There are all these things we have to learn. So with the idea that, oops, Mother Earth is conscious. Oh, and guess what? So is our galaxy. Holy shit. So is the universe. Oh, crap. Holy crap. Holy crap. So when you want to become a part of the universe, because we already are, but when you receive the consciousness message that says, oh, holy crap, I'm not just living, I'm a part of the planet Earth. Holy crap, wait, I'm part of this holy crap. And my consciousness, holy crap, it's tied in with holy crap. And so as you expand your thinking on this, if you do, and say, my consciousness isn't just here. It's a part of the really, really, really big picture. And when you can tap into that thought, which is where I've been like all along, and I'm trying to get folks to understand it, there is a bigger picture. That's why when I talk about people keep thinking inside of a box, in my paradigm, there is no box to think out of. It just doesn't exist. So when, you have to reach that point of clarity of consciousness that we are all so connected in such a much, 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 much bigger way. You've got to allow it to, you have to allow yourself to accept it because it's some heavy duty shit. I think as we're all finding out, in wonderful ways. Um, Let me go back up here a little bit. A flock of seagulls. Oh shit, ultraviolet radio light via solar system on a beam of light making telecommunications. Yep, something like that. I remember that tinfoil. Endarkenment. I have a tinfoil says, I have a friend who, when leaving, would always make me laugh by saying, stay in touch with yourself. Yep, absolutely. Quartz says, I once saw a video titled, What If There Was 36 Hours in a Day? Yeah, that one would just piss me off. Pink Angel says, oh no, the hot flashes are starting again. Another thing that's been happening since this afternoon. It's not hormonal. I wonder what that Schumann resonance is doing. I've had hot flashes too, and I don't think it's hormonal, Pink. Just saying. Tinfoil says the amnesia, if that's what it is slightly inconvenient, to put it mildly. And ooh, how do you cure that? The amnesia is being cured by allowing ourselves to let these frequencies open us up. Tinfoil, was that yours? Yeah. So to answer that question as best I can, it's the more you make the box disappear, the more the universe will, I say, flood in. Many of us have asked our soul selves to, like, hey, if you open up the gates of the water too much and we get flooded with too much information, we will literally drown in the information. So each one of us has got our own little spigot, if you will. And it's like, and it's with your soul contract, I'm told, in that how much amnesia is washed away depends on us individually. And the cure is allowing that, quote, water, the natural energy to flow over us without objecting to it. It's like, I can't stand this. I'm not going to believe this. This is too much for me. It's outside of the box I've created, Oh my God, the earth might really be round and not flat, I mean, however you want to look at it in your paradigm. But the thing is so those folks who are flat earthers, they've got a lot of stuff they're going to have to give up. Just saying. Because in physical world, things have a tendency to turn into spheres. A drop of water will collect into a sphere. Lots of things in the universe. Dust particles get together. They don't become flat. They become little dust bunnies. Things have a tendency to attract into shapes more globular, or clusters, if you will, than anything just flat with a dome over it. So these folks are going to have to literally allow the information from the universe to wash over them to cure them. That's when I say, with my little prayers at the end of each of these sessions, I ask everyone to accept and receive the energy and the knowledge and the healing from the universe. If you don't accept it, you can receive it all day long, but it's just going to pass through you. It's going to give you an upset stomach. The frequency is going to be such that, what's this all about? But if you accept it and receive it, then you will understand that that's the cure. Accepting and receiving from the universe. And I said months ago, I said, there's going to be people who are going to fight this, and don't fight it. Just get it in your inner tube and ride these waves. Keep an eye on what's going on and don't just tune out. But, there are certain forces in this universe we're just going to have to ride out. And this is what's going on right now with the different Schumann resonances. And so, and I know it sounds like I'm the prophet of the day. I'm just trying to relay the information that's been out there for a long time. I'm just a messenger. Now that could be prophetic in some of the things I've been talking about, but I look back on some of the things that I've said, and I realized to myself, "Oh, holy crap! You were more right than wrong, Dave." That's kind of scary. Looking at myself, thinking, "Shit." I've spouted off some things that have it's come true. My argument about the comments, and now they're saying, well, maybe it's not dust particles anymore. Oh, yep, just little things. And it's humorous to me in that, holy crap, that means the information that I received must have been correct, because that's why I have these conversations with you, to share the information. And so it's up to us to accept or receive it. But the cure of this is allowing the cure to take place. Don't fight it. If I go to the doctor and he says, listen, I'm going to give you this medicine for 3 weeks. You should not drink any alcohol with it. For the next 3 weeks, abstain from alcohol, take this medicine, and then you can go back to having a beer or whatever. Okay. So if I go home and say, yeah, okay, doc says don't take any, alcohol with this, but I take the medicine and I drink anyway. And then if I don't get well, whose fault is that? Mine. Because I chose not to follow the instructions. Well, for the next 3 weeks, you need to, okay. Well, if you're going to get rid of emphysema, quit smoking 3 packs of cigarettes a day. Well, I don't know if I can give it up. Wait a minute. I know folks who smoke through their throat. I'm sorry. But if I had to smoke through my throat, I'd say never again. Or, So we're giving the cure, but are we receiving the cure? Just asking, just asking. But I know with talking with folks like you, it's like Pink was saying earlier, the energies sometimes, it's like, whoa, and then being knocked out for, it's like our these are our upgrades. These are the cures. Now, I've been complaining about my lower back, but I had some nasty shit happen to it. And my taking of any type of analgesics or pain pills, I'm still only at 8 Advil. I'm sorry. I keep saying Advil. That's not right. Anyway, what are those damn? It's not Advil. Anyway. Some of the other healing, though, that I can feel going on, it's like there's just certain awarenesses or things. It's kind of hard to put my finger on, but some things that like didn't make any sense before. When I look out the window, there seems to be some deja vu, like Pink was saying, and some other things like timeline distortions, if you will. And then 2 days later, it'll be like back to normal. But for 2 days, things just didn't quite seem to set right. And I've noticed that during those times, there is that fluctuation where it's an extreme Schumann resonance or it's not, or it's some of it, or it's not, or it's normal. And so I haven't sat down and said, well, this event happened and there was a high Schumann. Now I do these videos to document, like right now, we have been in a higher frequency than we have for the last roughly 2 days. So it's going on at the moment, or at least it was. It's crap. It's 5 a.m. here, and it's like, and I'm like wide awake, and it's like I slept for all of yesterday, and until about 1 o'clock this morning, and I'm like, what the hell? But the Schumann resonance is back up, and the frequencies have been added. So is this part of the cure? Just wondering. We get a high vibrational frequency, and then they give us a day or two to like let it settle in. So Tinfoil says, yeah, we've been kept in the dark for reasons, and it ain't for no reasons. I bet that's true. And one of the things that has been described to me and some other folks I've talked about this is that in my own self, it's like in order to keep my sanity on this planet, they're only I ask them to wipe my memory every time I go out and come back, because to try to live in both worlds at the same time is just damn confusing. It's really takes a higher vibrational frequency to cross back and forth between these realms, and to be sane when you get back here without going, holy crap, where did I just come from, up. So in that, for myself and other folks I've spoke with, is that our memories are being wiped for our protection when we get back off of a mission and come back here to this planet, or out of our astral protection, whatever you want to call it. But a lot of folks are having, like, I remember some of that, but the rest of it's kind of foggy. But there seems to be more bleeding through the more that these changes are happening. So it's like, that's interesting. I'm remembering, where was I the other day? And it was like, I had my hands on something. It's kind of hard to, say, well, I know what the difference is between a dream state and an astral state, and then actually physically touching something and waking up and going, wait a minute, I just had that thing in my hands. Where the hell did it go? And you go, well, wait a minute, that was just a dream. Was it really? I can still like smell the residue of something. Like I had a ham sandwich, for example, and I could still smell the mustard on my hands. And I haven't had a ham sandwich in 3 months. Where does the ham sandwich smell come from? It's like that. And so, like Pink says, or the Ark of Gabriel that killed 2,000 people at once in Mecca. Right. They said it was a crane accident. Actually, it was a crane accident, in that the crane was struck by a plasma bolt. But you're true that that incident was part of the conflict between the Charistas and it. There's another group that starts with an M, and they're malevolent. They ain't good guys at all, but they hang out with the Vlash, which is Vlash. And but that thing in Mecca, absolutely. Remember, I don't know how long ago it was. There was this explosion, like in Israel or somewhere over there, and it was at night, and you could see this beam of light, and then and all of a sudden this object went up, and then there was an explosion. That was one of them. That was one of those incidents. Some of these plasma beam things that are being seen, some of that is a war between the aboves and below. Some of these Draco lizards and so forth that are inside our planet, they won't come out. And so some of these blasts that we're seeing with these plasma bursts are the fact that some of them, not all, some of what's going on in California has to do with beings inside and under the mountains there. Not all the fires were created and started, but some of them were created in the distant areas. Not that it meant to kill people, but because, as to bring this in, some of the plasma things that happened in California had to do with ETs, bad ETs under the soil. But the fact that a car engine melts, and I've been listening to these folks, and I've talked about forestry, and I've got my a 2-year degree in forestry and so forth, and civil culture, and 45 years of living here on this place, and knowing what control burning and so forth. Having been around, having had an old car down in the woods that things burned around, and very hot, very intense. But you need 2,500 degrees to melt aluminum wheels. 2,500 degrees Fahrenheit in order to melt aluminum wheels. Now, tires catch on fire, but tires do not burn at 2,500 degrees. You can catch a tire on fire, with a lighter and a little bit of gasoline, and it'll burn forever. But to that point, though, it's that does it reach the temperature to melt the aluminum alloy around it? And the answer is no. And a fast moving fire, as what such that happened, if it had been 2,500 degrees, the tops of the trees, which aren't burned, underneath the vehicle that's got the melted metal, will metal buckle with lower temperatures? Absolutely. Will it melt with lower temperatures? No. The property of metals requires a certain temperature because before it becomes viscous or before it starts to melt. So these things that why were certain areas where cars were melted and other places where it looked like a normal forest fire that was accelerated by its conditions, I might add. But melted cars are not part of a forest fire. They just don't exist. Burnt cars, yes. Melted cars, no. Sitting on a road with nothing, I mean, it's just heat on either side. Melted cars, not enough temperature. Sorry. And it has to be long enough to get the metal hot enough so that it will melt. Too many things. But now to the energy beams. Are these beams being witnessed? Absolutely. All over the place. And the Ark of Gabriel and those energies that came through there, that's some very strange things. I missed something. Tinfoil says only time can hold on to us for a little while. If time is the real currency, it can't be traded, only spent. Depends on where you're at with that, but agreed with you, Tinfoil. Yeah, Putin openly talks about the Anunnaki in Russia, and he has been for quite a while. Tinfoil, all I know is that I think I'm here, meaning where I can touch myself, right? Um, Pink says, oh, I was shown in a vision a volcano in the middle of an ocean that had a light beam coming from it. Absolutely. And there's a lot of those going on right now. Uh, white like the pyramids. Ear Biscuit Season 3, Episode 4 on Good Mythical Morning. Pink Angel, what if the day was 12 hours longer? Yep. The days are getting longer, by the way. And some days it's been an hour shorter. I haven't been able to do an accurate account because it hasn't been sunshiny enough. I got a little thing over here in the window that I calculate. It's my sundial. And I calculate, look at the clock. It says 9 o'clock. Does it say 9 o'clock on my sundial? No, it says 8:30 or it says 10:30. It's been way off for the last 2 years now. But I haven't been able to do that this year because there hasn't been enough sunlight to give me an accurate shadow. That sucks. Music is frequency. It's also light. A lot of people, Pink, I believe a lot of people feel music and see it if you close your eyes, especially if you're tripping. uh, Tinfoil says, oh, so yeah, volcanoes surely pop out of the sea occasionally. It must have happened many times, and why wouldn't it happen again? Right. And off of the coast of Oregon, there's a lot of stuff going on over there. Also, off the coast of Guatemala, there's some undersea activity there, but it's a lot deeper there. Also, there is some activity in the middle of the Caribbean, and I keep talking about the Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico, There's some strange things going on. And Pink, my curiosity has been, there's been sulfur dioxide and stuff coming out of the Gulf of Mexico, indicative of volcanic gases and a possible eruption from the Gulf of Mexico. And I think Dutch Sense and a couple other folks did some videos here about a week or so ago about all of the big time activity that's going on certain areas of the Caribbean and off the coast of Haiti and Cuba and over there. There's a really deep trench, and that's where there's been some sightings of Atlantis, if you will. And it's very possible that there are some undersea ruins of Atlantis if that is truly there. But I think that possibly some of it was. But off of Bimini and some of the islands off of there, that it's been recorded in the Caribbean Ocean, the Caribbean, that you see these undersea walkways and steps and what look like statues and things, and that could very well rise out of the ocean again. And guess what? There are volcanoes down there. That one of them, it's like the whole island is nothing but a volcano. And it's like, and guess what? I think Mary Greeley of Mary Greeley News, who keeps up with Yellowstone and stuff, she did a report on it as well. That this thing's, is fixing to go off, and it's just south of Cuba a little ways. So there's your volcano in the middle of the ocean. And I have been seeing these things too, but I saw the Guatemala one, and I've been pushed towards Haiti in looking at the ocean and things. And I agree, there's something else going to happen. I don't know what it is, but the energy's traveling from China and Australia and the lower Pacific. It's going underneath the Pacific plate and headed straight for us. This energy is on its way. It's the magma movement, and it's going, when it hits our side of the ocean, it's going to bump into it and create whatever it creates. We need to hang on. Now I'm not necessarily sure that a volcanic island is just going to appear in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico, pop out of the ocean, I mean, but I'm suggesting that it is very possible that an undersea volcano would erupt in the Gulf of Mexico because of the drilling and the things they've done with the fracture zones there and the plates. And what else has been going on? It's the transfer of the energy that has me more, if you want to say, alarmed than anything else, because that's the proof of why this could happen. It's this energy and the lava that scientists are claiming is really on the move. So if it's moving underneath Hawaii, thus it went off, and it's heading towards us, Guatemala went off a second time, and it's looking like a third. Now the volcanoes in the Canary Islands, and I'm sorry, not the Canary, Caribbean, and so forth, now they're starting to wake up and spewing. Doesn't that mean the energy's moving from China, Hawaii, Guatemala? Oh, guess what? It's heading towards the Atlantic Ocean, which a long time ago was a warning to me, that I was told that when the Atlantic Rift starts really showing a lot of activity is when we really need to pay attention. Well, it's been going on for the last 6 months, all up and down the Atlantic Ridge, all the way down into the Sandwich Islands. There was another big one, which is at the tip of South America there at Antarctica, and Dabu 777777777 reported on that there was an accident down there in Antarctic just the last few days or so, of something went off, fire thing. But to the point though, what caused it? What else is going on? The earth changes. Sandwich Islands, right down there in that area, 7 point something went off. That's a big earthquake, especially when it's as deep as some of these things are. That means heavy duty magma stuff is moving. So can these things be possible? Absolutely. And we need to look at what Mother Earth is telling us rather than listen to the garbage that people want to, focus on. This energy's transferring. Does it mean, Yellowstone's going to go off? I don't know, but Steamboat Springs has went off 30 times in this last year when it's taken 15 years for it to go off 30 times. So you want to look at what's going on? Are things happening? Well, yeah. So we'd be stupid to not pay attention to what Mother Earth is telling us. Forget about what the scientists are trying to lie to us about, but let's look at the serious facts. This stuff's on the move, and it can only travel as far as the Atlantic Rift because the rift is a deep trench. It doesn't travel across the Atlantic. From the Pacific, it travels west. From the Pacific, it travels east. I don't know why. Maybe it's because of the Mariana Trench and all that there. I don't know about that part. But the fact that the Earth is heating up from the inside, the fact that there are glaciers melting from underneath. If it was us and you and me, it would be melting from the top down. It's not. There are other reasons, other causes. Let's pay attention to this, you know. So let's just look at the facts. Hollow Earth, it's being proved every day, in my opinion. The pole changes, that's a possibility, simply because of this Earth wobble. Now, 2 weeks ago, I was preaching, oh my God, it looks like we're being saved, and now I want to cuss them. You sons of bitches told me you fixed the moon. Now, how come it's sitting over there? you know, but we don't know the whole picture. We don't know the whole story. But the bottom line to all of this is that we need to accept and receive these energies. We need to allow them whatever they need to us to fix us. And each one of us is going to feel it differently. But we all have a very similar consensus, regardless of how we feel about it. The bottom line is we all understand that it is about love, it is about our consciousness level. Those two things we can absolutely agree on, regardless of how we get there, regardless of the message. We can agree on those 2 points, and those are two heavy duty points. We agree that it is about love and from the heart, which, there's a lot to be involved in the word love with that, but that also that the frequency changes in with us are doing these things to the earth. But the two of them, these things, it's the consciousness of the planet that's changing, which is changing our consciousness, the whole galaxy, and with this expansion, et cetera, et cetera. But that we can agree on those two facts: love and the consciousness thereof. I just shot you a bird by accident. Sorry about that middle finger there. I should use two other. No, that's the wrong one too. But anyway, so those are the simple facts of whatever's going on, regardless of our religion or upbringing. These two facts we can agree upon. How we agree on that's immaterial. That's the fuzziness in between. Is our consciousness being changed? Yes. Is the love and our compassion and everything? That's moving around. We can agree on that. How we get there? It's anybody's guess, but we need to get there. Yeah, I'm starting to lose it too, Pink. And the tremor that was felt around the entire planet that moved an island 2 inches, absolutely. So the Pink says, so the volcano you saw could be something from Atlanta. Maybe it's a buried pyramid. Absolutely. And it could very well be in the Caribbean, somewhere in between Mexico and, out yonder. But Pink, I've been seeing stuff happening out there for too many years now. And it's like I try to close my eye. Remember in about 2001, loud trumpet sounds heard all around the world? I do. Even I heard it through my windows and in Ukraine on YouTube. Yep, tinfoil. That's absolutely. Court says sky has been getting dark here around 4 p.m. That's another thing too. I mean, it's dark here by 6 o'clock, and I mean, it's dark, and it's been getting dark by 5:30. Quarter after 5, I'm like, what the hell's going on? It's damn near dark outside. And it's like, wait a minute, I know it's wintertime, but quarter after 5? Usually it's like, quarter to 6, 6 o'clock on the darkest days. But yeah, uh, Tinfoil said, I'm 7 minutes in the past. There might be, yes, uh, way before sunset. Yep. Tinfoil says, yeah, good point. There might be literally too much information for our current capacity to process or whatever. I had to pause the stream for a moment. But to that point, Tinfoil, absolutely. Um, let's see. Yeah, I mean a very real thing. Yeah, the trumpet thing. There's been some noises going on that are really kind of crazy, but some of these quote trumpet noise are actually it's the earth groaning, and it's coming out through holes in the ground. And there's a lot of open holes around here where I've lived, underground caverns and things, and there are some strange noises that just come out of the earth. It's like what now? But does that correspond with Gabriel's horns and things? All of the above. I say yes. Great to talk with you, including you readers in the future. Troll me whenever you want to, but be kind. Dang, I was supposed to be asleep too. But then again, it's all necessary according to whatever laws govern this universe. Assuming real laws cannot be broken. But see, what we understand as laws of the universe, we don't at this particular time in right now, tinfoil. We don't have all the information. That's been my contention for some of what I've been discussing as silly science. And so there is more to the science than we are have been led to believe or taught and for whatever reason. And so when we get the rest of the story, as Paul Harvey would say, we're going to understand the rest of the science and we're going to go, ah, shit, that was the missing puzzle piece. That was the thingy, whatever, that didn't make sense, to this, Oh, there really is a cosmic goo and they're calling it dark energy or matter. Okay. Oh, but when we get this enlightenment of this higher vibration, that's why I talk about so many of these things that are like really way out there other people won't discuss, because what if it's possible? And now some of the things I've been talking about are actually being proven, and science is coming around to, and it's like, maybe I wasn't so crazy after all. But I'm agreeing there are so many, there are so few of us who have this concept of what I'm talking about. And we're like 0.001 of the population. We're a very small minority. But in a way, I think it's what's keeping the glue together, because we refuse to give in to this other paradigm. Well, if you don't believe that, what that idiot Tyson guy thingy, talks about, and you know, I just want to, that black gentleman that says he's a physics astrology guy, the one I'm talking about. That guy's so full of mess, But anyway, so the what we discuss as real laws of nature, my understanding of them are very different, because I look at Mother Earth as a living entity, where other people look at it, it's a ball or it's a flat Earth, or they look at it as a thing, not an entity. And so you have to include the aliveness, if you will, of Mother Earth or of the universe in order to accept these other realms of thought, of science. And people just want written out, no, no, Mother Earth is just a ball of dirt and water and shit. And no, consciousness, a planet. Well, okay, well, then you're not going to understand the rest of this thing. Just quite frankly, it's not to pick on anybody, but if you refuse to allow yourself this, then you're going to have difficulty with understanding this higher consciousness thought. So with that, though, I know it's after 5 o'clock. I can't believe I've been on this thing for so long, but it is great hanging out with you folks again. I know it's been a while since I've been on, but I've been get my own downloads. And I've been trying to take care of housework and cutting firewood and trying to stay warm and etc. So that's taken up a little bit also. But Neil deGrasse Tyson, thank you very much. Neil, he is such a butthole. And even when he was on, there was an interview with him with, oh gosh, got the glasses. Anyway, but it was like made a damn fool of him talking about this through Mao Mao Mao. Well, if it's coming into the universe and listening to Neil deGrasse Tyson and maybe it was Colbert, but just ate him alive, and I was like, yes. So anyway, much love, Pink. Tinfoil as always, Quartz. Always, always, always love hanging out with you guys, and I don't know who else is in the house at the moment. It says four, and I only named three of you. But anyway, let's end with my usual prayer. Thank you all very much, and my highest regards and honor to every one of you. And I pray that every one of you, your friends, your relatives, your neighbors, and all of your relations, that you will accept and receive the healing from the universe. It is a difficult thing to accept sometimes because we don't understand it. But I pray, my prayer is for every one of you and everyone that you touch in your community and your surroundings and all of your relations, meaning all of your star being people, that and all of your relations, that you will accept and receive these healings and the knowledge and the teachings and the wisdom that is in the universe at all times and is available to each and every one of us at all times. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart and from the top of my heart, from my soul's heart and my heart's soul. I thank you with honor, love, and respect to each and every one of you. Sleep well, be well, and pass along the goodness. So until this next time, thank you, everybody. Be well.